Oh boy, it's me, Omegon. With me is Aun'Shi,
Hello.
an Alpha Legionnaire number 1717.
It's 1718, actually.
I get you guys confused. You all look the same.
That's racist.
Only against snakes. Nobody cares how snakes feel anyway. So, this is not a Get Watch episode. This is something new we're doing. We're going to be basically doing a Codex retrospective. And for first, of course, because it's not really the earliest Codex, but it's new enough race that like you can feel the newness. You can look at all the newness, and it's obviously the Tau, as you can see from on screen. This is the Tau 3rd edition Codex that I played against way back in the day. Our Alpha Legionnaire buddy never actually played against, and Aun'Shi, of course, actually played this Codex back in the day.
I actually still have my models. They're the only ones left.
Yeah. So we're gonna be doing a overview of this for now, and then maybe later on is another part where we'll talk about the fluff and then the crunch and then like the modeling hobby aspect of the whole thing. The first things first. This was, as you can see, this is like the early format they followed when everything was still like Codex was just in the background. They had this big impact text, and there was the whole like, you know, in the Aquila, but other alien races. And the artwork for this was at the time very, very new. Like, as you can see, like you have, and also like if you had never seen any of this stuff before, like look, there's the Kroot, who were kind of sort of mentioned in the background before this became a thing, and then there's Fire Warriors, and you have the battle suits. And I imagine, as a young child or a young teenager or whoever, when you're getting into this was like, oh man, what is this, mecha? I don't know, Aun'Shi, what did you think when you first saw this?
When I saw this, I was actually just getting into 40K. It was my first army, and I got into the Tau Codex because I was very torn between them and Imperial Guard.
And I know you later went on to play Imperial Guard as well, which became your mainline force.
Yes, but this cover sold me.
Yeah, I figured, because I had a similar reaction to the 3.5 Chaos Codex, where when I first saw that cover, I was like, oh man, I dig it.
What sold me is that fucking dude in the white helmet right at the front.
Just, all right, everybody, I'm the other squad leader. Because that's weird, because you have this guy with the white helmet, and then you have the other Chasui over here he's got like the sensor
with
spine
no helmet. I fucking hated that guy.
Well, like this is a really low res image of it, but like the super high res version, it's like he looks fucking like, if you take his head out of context, he looks retarded.
He looks horrified.
He's just
like, look, every other fire warrior around him is lining up a shot or taking a shot. The Kroot are about to charge something, and then he's just standing there going, "What the fuck?
What is that?" You can imagine like the Tyrannid Codex cover on the other side. There's like a tank exploding. There's 5 Carnifexes.
No, I always figured it was they're fighting Imperial Guard, and the Commissar just blatted someone. He just points. That guy just shoot his own man.
What is going on? Yeah.
Do we have auxiliaries out here?
We don't even know. This might have been the first time. I mean, this is the Tau Sept, so who knows? These are, but whatever. We'll get. They had
the Goela troops in White Dwarf.
Yeah, the White Dwarf that came out pretty close after. So, this came out in 2001, and like, I mean, as you can see, the 2001 aesthetic GW had, like in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, up to the mid 2000s, the aesthetic for the codexes at the very least was fucking great.
Yes.
Like, this was written by Andy Chambers, peace be upon him, and Pete Haynes, and Graham McNeil. Adrian Smith did this art, and like Adrian Smith went on to do a lot of other Tau pieces, and he has like a really cool, like clean but gritty art style.
He's very much, I would say, he's very much in line with stuff like the late 80s, early 90s Gundam art, as far as how he draws the Tau.
Yeah,
like, there's a very obvious parallel. in like the aesthetics. He does that really well.
And I know he got picked for that because Jess Goodwin, like the guy who famously did many of the sculpts and many of the graphic design and the concept art for the Eldar most of the time, he was the one that came up with the idea for the Tau, and his original idea for the Tau was like, well, we need a product to break into the Asian market, and, you know, mecha anime is super popular in the late 90s, early 2000s, so why don't we try something along that lines? So he drew all these battle suits and shit, and, like, that was Jess Goodwin, so, like, when, I'm pretty sure he was directing Adrian Smith when he was doing that. And then John Blanche was also on the graphic design team here, so at some point we might see some of his artwork sneak in.
Yeah, but I describe his art style, Adrian Smith, as very crisp, which I really liked.
Very crisp, especially in comparison to John Blanche, who, like, John Blanche's whole, like, calling card was how, like, everything's really incomplete and blurry.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you had the A-team, Mark Harrison, Brian Nelson, but of course Jess Goodwin and Juan Diaz doing the models for this codex in this edition, which were awesome. And then I give special thanks to Gav Thorpe down here. I'm like, Gav Thorpe, like, he's a great idea guy, terrible in practice. So this is the overview, like, why collect the Tau army, who they are. They do this almost Westwood intro. Greetings, Commander. This sacred text. And they're like, look, it's a Tau. They're a really small civilization. They're just there. They're on the eastern fringe. They have nothing. Like, in comparison to the rest of the fucking every other major faction that gets its own codex, the Tau are, like, absurdly minuscule, which I think might have been kind of a mistake in the writing department. I would have said that you could have said it's small, but they should have never, like, specified, oh yeah, they're like 1/50th the size of Ultramar, which is like 1/4 of a single segmentum or something like that.
Yep.
And why collect a Tau army? Because you want to shoot people in a modern war game that revolves around getting into close combat after shooting people, apparently. And you just want to shoot people. You don't want to do anything but shoot people. Is that about right?
No. That's why you have Kroot.
Yeah.
That's why you used to have Kroot.
That's why you used to have Kroot. You know, the first two Tau Codexes where they weren't like, oh yeah, we actually do have alien auxiliaries and they do things. It's like, by the time 5th edition, 6th edition rolled around, they had completely forgotten about that. We're just like, just make them snipers or something.
Kroot only useful on terrain-heavy tables.
Yep. I think this is a John Blanche piece. It looks really similar to a lot of his work, but it might not be.
I think it is because it's so foggy.
Yeah. There's a lot, and, like, you know, as the classic, you know, early 2000s, late 90s style, they have a bunch of out-of-game text that's, like, you know, getting to the flavor of it, and then this grayscale artwork, and then a little short story about, like, this is what it's like to play Tau and win, and how it goes. And then overview of them and their beginning of their history. We have some, you know, tech priests and servitors and shit being like, what's all this stuff? There's an ethereal being like, guys, what are you doing?
They found a really primitive alien species. We're like, well, let's just exterminate this and take over.
Oh shit, a warp storm, no! They had to leave, and it's just super primitive, it won't be a problem. Come back 1,000 years later, holy shit. What happened? Was it 1,000 years in this version of it?
No, it was longer than that.
6,000 years, here we go. First Imperial contact with the Tau race came roughly 6,000 years ago in 789 M35. So, like, the Tau basically, like, the Tau didn't even have any written history as far back as the Horus Heresy or the Great Crusade.
The Tau were like cavemen when they were found 6,000 years ago.
Yeah, and so imagine before that, like, the big question to me was always, like, how did the Great Crusade miss them? Because they were on the eastern fringe right next to Ultramar.
They were animals when they came through. They
were actual cows.
He's
not even lying. They were literally just like quadruped bovines.
They evolved sapience in 6,000 years, and the Imperium was like, what?
At some point,
that would be my reaction as well. Personally.
Yeah.
And then 6,000 years later, they evolved high technology. You're like, oh shit.
They're literally in the dark age of technology by their own equivalent.
Yeah. Although, like, a lot of their technology doesn't make any sense, and that's a thing that's really funny, is like, of all the factions in 40k, like, they and the Necrons are the only ones that really understand what they're doing. Like, the Eldar, all of their technology, unless this is something I guess we'll discuss in the future if and when we talk about an Eldar Codex. Their technology is like really highfalutin and powerful and everything, but if you look at how it's applied, the implication is that the Eldar don't actually know what they're doing with their tech, and they're just following like imprints of like stuff that, you know, they did thousands of years ago for fun. Like shuriken weapons
That's not the impression I get. The impression I get
is Eldar?
Yeah, they use they integrate a psychic presence into their technology.
Their technology doesn't work without having that psychic presence, though. They are similar to the orcs, and for good reason, given that they were created by the same progenitor species.
Yeah, I mean, like almost all of their stuff.
They just have a far more subtle version of the Gestalt feel that the orcs have that allows what they have to actually function.
It'd be like, I'm trying to think of an analogy. The closest I could come up with is, imagine a race that could see infrared. They would never invent night vision goggles.
Yeah. But, I mean, a big point I would like to make is that a lot of, and we should probably move on from this pretty quickly, but a lot of Eldar technology, at least Craftworld Eldar technology, is almost all of it is made out of psychoplastics anyway, like Wraithbone and like the lower grades of psychoplastics that aren't Wraithbone level yet. And like, to that degree, it's like, you know, one of the things is like, if you look at the Shuriken weapon design, Shuriken weapons, they create a field of directed gravity to fling their projectiles at you, and their projectile is just monomolecular edged discs. And it's like, wait a second, if you have the technology to, like, you know, manipulate gravity on a level of inside of a gun, why would you just not use the gravity itself to, like, crush somebody instead of just flinging discs to them?
Why would you not do a lot of other things? Well, because it's not elegant enough. The Eldar value elegance and aesthetics over function, and that's always been their thing.
I figured that the gravity field was entirely localized, so you'd have to have a big thing to wrap around somebody to crush them.
Well, the whole point of gravity is that it can never be localized unless you're deliberately preventing it from propagating out of the gun by having a second gravitational field that counteracts it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, all of this, all of the actual, like, you know, hard science of 40k, you can hand wave everything in it by just going, psychic powers, the warp, blah, and, like, but the thing is back to the point I was making, the Tau and the Necrons are the only factions that don't have that excuse. You know, the Dark Age of Technology something, psychic powers, warp-based tech. Like, if their stuff has anti-gravity, it has to have, like, hard science anti-gravity, or it just doesn't make any sense. And, I mean, I know the writers of this game obviously didn't think that far.
It could just be, like, self-consistent science fiction principles, which is, like, this is always the thing that I argue is, science fiction doesn't necessarily have to be fully consistent with our modern understanding of scientific principles. It has to be consistent with
its own.
Within itself.
With itself.
Yeah.
And the Tau, as represented in 40k, and the Necrons as represented in 40k, tend to break their own rules more often than not because they don't, you know, try as hard as other factions, but because not having the excuse of the warp.
Yeah.
For everything.
That's a problem we see
that
a
makes
lot
them
more
need to try
editions.
harder than anyone else to get the same results.
Yeah. But that's, like I was saying, that's a problem we see a lot more in later editions. Earlier on here, they don't really go into it enough that you ever think that there's anything inconsistent about Tau technology. And it only gets that way when you get to, like, 5th edition, 6th edition stuff where you have battle suits that are like, you know, well, we have all of this ion guns and everything, and then when they introduce the ion rifle, where it's like it's powered by radioactive rocks, how it works, nobody knows. Like, but
one of the only like big inconsistencies I'd say is the fact that their army isn't actually like a few models of infantry and then a shit ton of drones.
yeah, like that they would be using drones a lot more.
Yeah.
Although that said, they do explain, I think, in this codex later on that they're like that battle suits are not actually like the most practical option they have for a lot of things, but it's a cultural thing that they use battle suits everywhere, and I guess that's fine. And like, despite all that, like the battle suits, stat wise at the very least, are like super effective in comparison to almost everything else in the game.
Yes.
But so Discovery, they were discovered, and then everybody was like, "Oh shit, there's a warp storm. We have to get out of here instead of killing them. We have more pressing things."
Yeah, they got the colonists got killed by the warp storm on the way.
And then like 6,000 years later, they're back and they're like, "What the hell happened? These guys are super advanced. They have a little empire. What's going on?" And then after that, they like this covers how like they were originally 4 tribes that were all going to kill each other, and then 2 ethereals showed up out of nowhere on the night of this final battle and convinced them all to not kill each other. And then suddenly they start expanding rapidly. And this artwork down here, this is the artwork that they use for Angkor Proc, the one special character that the Kroot have. So we don't even know if it's him, but this is the artwork of like when the Tau first came to Peck or something. Or like the Petch or Peck, the homeworld of the Kroot. They're like, look, it's all these battle suits and Aun'Shi. Like, I don't know if this is just a random ethereal or if this was Aun'Shi, but he has like an anti-gravity harness for this one piece of artwork where they're just like dropping out of the back of an orca.
Yeah, no, that's just an ethereal, and I'm pretty sure that's just them flexing on the natives.
Like, just look at all of our anti-gravity gigantic horde of Kroot that would probably eat us all. Like, we're gonna land like a crap load of mantas in the background. Like, this was the first artwork of the manta, and you can
if
see
that
like,
Kroot had eaten that ethereal, things would have gone a lot differently historically.
Yeah, it's even
Kroot ethereals try to start uniting the Tau Empire.
Like,
succeed because they're Kroot and they could just fucking do that.
I'm pretty sure there's a piece of lore somewhere, not in this book, but somewhere like between, like later on, like I think maybe 4th or 5th edition, where they were like, yeah, the Kroot, like the Kroot were basically not allowed to eat dead ethereals, or if like they ever found out something like that happening, they were like, we have to exterminate this whole kindred. We can't let them have those genes.
Yeah.
Because I know that they exterminated Kroot kindreds for eating Chaos and Tyranid enemies a lot of the time. Although Tyranid enemies, it was implied it was because like Tyranid DNA could somehow hijack Kroot DNA.
And yeah, so they just like Kroot eats Tyranid. It basically turns into a gene stealer cult.
Yep, right on the spot. And like, I mean, when you think about it, like Kroot are probably one of the scariest races in 40k. Like of all the other like wackety shit, like you have orcs, obviously, you have the Eldar, the Dark Eldar being soul vampires. You have, enslavers. You have demons. But the Kroot are like, so my, like, oh yeah, the reason why I'm made of fungus is because my parents ate an orc once. And I'm going to eat this I'm going to eat this weird alien race with wings, and so my children are going to have wings now. And it's like, they're like Tyranids, but, not like they don't have as much plot armor, so I guess they don't win all the time.
They're like Tyranids, but they evolve slower, and they have individuality and a pretty good sense of humor.
Pretty good sense of humor, he says.
Also, they have, don't they have higher initiative as well?
They, I think they're initiative 4. Originally in this version of the game, I believe Kroot were weapon skill 4, strength 4, and initiative 4.
Oh, okay.
And had two attacks plus 1 from their
I thought they were
rifle.
better than that, but okay.
Well, I mean,
they had 3 attacks base for like a 12-point model.
Yeah, like bear in mind this was 3rd edition when like having Space Marine tier melee was pretty decent. It wasn't like completely out of control.
Yeah.
Like, but also like 3rd edition, the highest initiative models in the game were like, you know, were upper like HQ tier Tyranid units and like Phoenix Lords, like Eldar HQs and Tyranid HQs had like, you know, initiative 7 and higher a piece, versus like nearly everybody else were like, you know, your initiative capped out at like 5 for like a Space Marine chapter master or something.
Yeah.
So, and they go on to Imperial Contact here, which is like basically Damocles Crusade. Oh shit, oh god, oh fuck. And it was like the Tau being like, this is ridiculous, and the only thing that saved them was High Fleet Behemoths showing up out of nowhere, and the Imperium being like, we'll deal with you later.
Yeah, and then in newer fluffs, they literally went to various factions that were left behind during that crusade and were like, hey, you wanna join the Tau Empire?
Yeah. Hey kid, you wanna buy some communism? Like, and then apparently they went on to fight their splinter fleets and they won. And it's like, it was super, this was when the writing was super hopeful, where they were just like, but the issue is that like, a lot of people were rubbed the wrong way when this came out about it, the writing for the Tau being super hopeful, that I think like didn't really understand what they were reading, because the thing is that like, it's the fluff in their own codex is supposed to be like, the fluff in each faction's
This
codex
is what they personally believe.
Yeah, and then like
they believe that they can actually create a noble, bright setting, and they can't. But they think they can, and if you read between the lines, that's actually awful.
And what was messed up was like this misconception about their lore carried on for like 5 editions after this, to the point where there's still people that think that like the Tau are the same way, when it's like every edition they keep adding more grimdark stuff to their own fluff.
Yeah, they are slowly waking up to the reality, and that's very interesting.
Yeah, but like they just,
and none of it's intentional.
Yeah, and none of it's intentional. Like, that's the fucked up thing. Like, I think, like, honestly, a lot of the Tau fluff about like a game, like if you did Tau fluff in a way like you had a game like Fire Warrior in the modern day, with modern writing of like how this one Fire Warrior saw some serious shit during his deployment and is like, this is all propaganda or something, like I think would have done a lot better job than the fluff that they have now, where it's just like, oh yeah, this old fluff was, the galaxy's bright and hopeful, we can conquer it, we just gotta, you know, make this alien coalition work,
we just gotta work together,
and now the modern fluff is like, oh yeah, we'll just use communism we'll use communism our way out of this one, guys, don't worry, that guy on the far side, like Commander Farsight, who betrayed us because he knew the truth, he's still actually defending us. We still have a chance because we keep having plot armor. Like, you know, like it's all dumb. Like the modern fluff is really dumb, but I mean that's the main thrust of this YouTube channel anyways. Modern fluff is dumb. Modern fluff interpretations are really dumb. And then anyway, they go on to talk about the caste system, where they're like, fire is the warriors, earth is the builders, water is are all the bureaucrats, air does all the air shit, and then the ethereals are somebody. And this is definitely John Blanche piece. This is like some of the only artwork they have of the other casts. Were like, water cast guys, they just have rice, they have like rice patty hats for reasons. Air cast guy who can stand in gravity. Earth cast guys who are basically dwarves. So yep, and then another short story about the Kroot. The Kroot actually have a lot of really great short stories in this one and the next codex. My favorite is still the one about the there's an Eldar Ranger squad that's like, haha, they're so clumsy and inferior. What a young species, now stupid. And then like they get they're trying to
clever girl.
Yeah, like it's a squad of Rangers trying to ambush a squad of Fire Warriors, and then they get counter ambushed by a squad of Kroot, and are like, but how? Like, it's basically an anime at that point. It's like, but how? It's such speed. Like, the Kroot just eat them.
No, the Kroot kill them all, and then they're like, huh, these were really stealthy. Hey, buddy, you're really stealthy. I'm gonna eat you so my kids are stealthy. What? I'm gonna eat you.
Ah! Yep. We've got Arno Kroot Hounds and the Krootox.
Oh, God. Krootox. There's a short story. Excuse me, everyone, but I've got the flu.
Yeah.
But there's a short story out there where they are trying to get information out of a Kroot, like they were trying to get information, and a crew just happened to find the guy they were trying to talk to and kill him and ate him. And
Yeah.
the Space Marines pick him up, and they're like, "You're gonna tell us everything." And he's like, "Well, I only know because I ate the guy, and I don't want to tell you because if I tell you, you're just gonna kill me. So let's make a deal." And then the Space Marine's like, we have the same power as you, right? No, you
Yeah.
don't.
You have
Yeah, no, we can.
Omega.
We can eat your brain and learn your memories. Wait, like naturally, like humans have had this power? No, just us. And they shoot him in the gut with a bolter,
Oh, like
and then eat his brain.
that was another interesting thing. Is like that's one of the like it's a Space Marine organ that's been around since Rogue Traders, the Omega, but like
Yeah.
nobody ever fucking uses it. Like it's only ever used for plot convenience in any of the Black Library books, and it's like, wait a second, how come the Tau or the Tyranids for that matter, when they started eating like Space Marine gene seed and stuff, didn't get supercharged by that shit? Not the Tau.
Yeah, because the crew don't have that ability. Like they could take on like physical, morphological, genealogical traits.
Yeah, but if they ate
Genomic,
gene
like
seed,
whatever. But yeah, if they ate a Space Marine, the ability to get the opponent's or get the knowledge of whatever you're eating by eating their brain is not something that the crew would have.
Well, it's
That's something that they would value like extremely highly.
No. It is something that they have because they ate Space Marines and got it.
well, like the
Wait, no, where is it mentioned that they have it now?
it's not now. It's based on each kindred. It's like if
Oh,
a
okay.
kindred had if a
Kindreds that have fought and eaten Space Marines have the power.
Yeah.
Oh, they do? Okay,
yeah.
great.
Well, like
great.
no, dude. The most messed up one is like the probably like in a single passage to explain what the Crude are like is like the closest to it. If you had to like boil them all down, would be that one paragraph in the Caiaphas Cain novel about the Imperial world that's like half Imperial, half Tau.
Oh yeah.
Cold War, and there's a Gene Stealer cult running around, and so like Cain and Amberly Vale like team up with a Kroot Shaper that is like, we're trying to investigate this Gene Stealer cult too, and the Kroot Shaper like eats a Gene Stealer cult at some point, starts chewing, and then spits it out, and they're like, wait a second, you don't spit out meat, what's wrong? And he's like, it tastes like Tyranid, it's wrong. And it's like, wait, you can taste their DNA? It's like, yeah. Like,
yeah.
And that's basically the explanation of Kroot. They can taste
Shapers
DNA.
can taste DNA.
Shaper, yeah, but like, and Shapers are some shit, because apparently they have like prophetic dreams and shit, and they like
that's from eating Eldar.
They have like Shapers are all sorts of cool, because they're like, like this local man goes to his family and changes everybody's genes. Like,
yeah, no, I really like Kroot Fluff. I wish they got more love from GW.
They have a fantastic aesthetic too. Like, look at it. Like this, they're one of the only like truly unique races in 40k. Like 40k's got a unique aesthetic, but like orcs and elves and space humans and evil space humans, like all of that is like, done.
Kroot would have sold fantastically because they did the like White Dwarf Codex for them to see if there's interest, and there was. I
played Kroot Mercenaries back in the day, as a matter of fact. That was my third army.
Yeah. They were fantastic.
They were a lot of fun. And like you needed to do some bullshit to make them playable, but like essentially it's like if you played on any, well, most like 90% of all the fucking tables in any game shop back in the day was like grassy knoll with a bunch of trees on hilltops. So it was like Kroot just go in and laugh, because they all had the Fieldcraft special where they just hide in the woods and can shoot you behind like. It was like back then that was if you were beyond 6 inches of cover, you couldn't be seen. But they had a rule where if they were beyond 12 inches of cover, they could still see.
They could see up to 12 inches, so you put them 8 inches in cover.
And gave them the sniper rifles, and they just sat there. And then if you got close, they would just charge you.
Because they had moved through cover.
Yep. And like, of course, this was popular. This wasn't a power that they had back in the day, but like the way certain Kroot kindreds could get furious charge, so that the way relic like represented that in Dawn of War Dark Crusade, when they first got like a video game adaptation, it wasn't the Kroot at least got first got a video game adaptation. That was when you had the Kroot leap, and the Kroot leap was ridiculous. They just go scree and fly and then like kick over Terminators and stuff.
Yeah. Like, I'm super surprised in this day and age where we're dealing with games woke shop.
Woke shop.
They haven't brought the Crute back big time because holy shit, you've got Native American army with superpowers.
Yeah, but you know,
you can have this idea. I don't mind you stealing it, GW.
I
You
don't-
might actually get my money again.
I honestly don't think they're interested in it. I mean, I've actually talked with I've talked with 1717 about this a lot. Is like in the 80s and the 90s, like the Native American aesthetic was really cool and big, and like every
It
like
made a very brief comeback, and then it just kind of faded again. It just sputtered out around the turn of the.
Yeah, it's just for whatever reason in the modern day, even when we have like these revitalizations of fantasy and sci-fi properties, or these new fantasy sci-fi properties, like nobody has like aside from just Shadowrun, where like Shadowrun's like the core of Shadowrun's aesthetic revolves around Native American stuff, so they can't really get rid of it. Like, they had this happen, but I don't know. It's sad, honestly. Moving on, this is a cool passage here. Not because it's like any of it really makes a lot of sense. Although like it's very fluffy, and like this whole page is a blast from the past because no codex really has this anymore. Is where they actually like talk about the tactical and strategic philosophy of the army and why it is that way and how they do things. Like nowadays, it's like Imperial Fist, they do siegecraft. Like they blow up buildings and they take over buildings and build fortifications. That's just how they do it.
Why?
They're the
Because
best at
we
it.
think it's cool and the aesthetics
We
of
think
it.
it's
and
cool
we
and we're the
want,
best at it. And we're the best
we
because we
want
say
this.
we're the best.
It's more than that. They want it to be an effective tactic or approach to warfare because they think the aesthetic of it is cool.
Yeah.
So they don't actually put thought into, well, why would it be effective under
And
what
then the writing
circumstances and so on. It just works because we like it.
And then the writing of it is always just like the exposition says this is correct, therefore that's what we do. And it's
dig a picket trench.
And here they still have like the little like sidebar where it's like if you play in 40k, your army is probably a hunter cadre because this is about the size of a typical 40k army. Nowadays, like they don't even say that. Like they don't say you're playing a chapter, you're playing a company, you're playing a regiment, you're playing a war band. They're
playing what you got.
Like they're just like armies are fucking just all over the place now. More John Blanche artwork, and this is obviously John Blanche, and this is like a one of the fucking sketches of it. Is that a Barracuda or one of the original Tiger Sharks?
That is a Barracuda.
Yeah, and like this is all before Forge World had any of this, so people were just like, "Oh wow, cool planes," and like they look way cooler in this than they did in like the modern day, where they have like the Sun Shark and everything.
Yeah,
like the Sun Shark looks like it's not terrible. It's just not as good. Like I don't know why they came out with the Sun Shark and shit like that when they could have just had plastic Barracudas or something.
I thought they did.
Nope. Barracudas and both variants of Tiger Shark are still only Forge World. But they made like the new flyers that they came out with for 6th edition, I believe, Tau. The Sun Shark and the other thing that's also something Shark.
Right.
Were totally new kits that they made all in plastic instead, and like they came up with totally new kits that are of dubious usage in the tactical doctrine of not only like the fluff but the crunch,
right.
Instead of just coming out with plastic Barracudas or something. Though let's be honest here, Tau air power, like stat wise, since Forge World came out with their rules in 4th edition, have been overpowered as fuck. Like people think like Marauder bombers and like Hell Talons and stuff are cool. It's like no, Tau air power is ridiculous. Like, more artwork. Imperial Guardsmen just getting shredded by Crute Hounds. And we had the so far rare battlesuit. Brand tactical equipment where they talk about the Manta Missile Destroyer.
I like that this battlesuit has a shield.
Yeah. That was the old school, was like had a gun and a shield.
And nowadays, no guns.
Yeah, no, because now they're like, ooh, herder, shield drone.
Yeah, and because like shield drones were obnoxious if you played anything, but I don't know if that's supposed to be if that's an ethereal there like holding his two like weird stun sticks, or if he's holding up his arms like, yes, look at all this firepower coming down this hill.
He's just up there. We did it.
Yep. And then this is where we start getting into the crunch. And this is this right here. I know there's all this other stuff I'll get to in a second. This is one of the earliest sketches that Jess Goodwin did when he came out with the Tau. And it's fucking
where it's ultra mecha.
Like I one of the things I really like about his early work that finally worked.
It's really fucking fat.
Well, yeah, like it's thick, but it's like, you know,
thick.
If you didn't notice, a lot.
I
of
wish
artwork,
we had those fucking legs. You know why?
Because
those
modern
fucking
ones
ankles
suck.
break. Yeah. Those ankles break all the fucking time.
Yeah, like the weird ball.
I will pick them
ankles.
up. I found one of my battle suits like a month ago, and I took him out of the box, and picking him up broke his ankles.
Yeah, and like I remember, like when they first came out, they had normal bases, and then the next generation after that, it was the same model, but they all came with flying bases entirely because they wanted you to mount them on there because they were like, yeah, the ankles don't actually support the weight of the fucking model.
See people taking freaking paper clips and epoxying them to the back to hold them up. Yeah, almost. Like, I mean, the gold, I should say not gold standard. The brown standard for model issues is at least in like the 3rd edition, 4th edition days, is probably still the Land Raider Crusader, simply because of that multi-melta. The multi-melta pintle was a joke. It was a bad joke, but it was a giant fuck you.
Neither here nor there. So, battlesuit systems. The big boy, the OG, you know, the main line, the XV8 Crisis Suit. It's got a jetpack and you get 3 hard points. And this was back when, like, instead of just giving you the suit profile of like, oh, this is just the profile of a suit in general, it was like, no, they acted like it was an add-on. It was add-on war gear to a character or to a model, like a fucking bike, like how bikes did. 2 strength, +1 toughness, 1 wound, 3 up armor save, like power armor. And then the stealth suit, and this was the XV15 before they came out with the 25, like the little boys. Stealth suit, burst cannon, jetpack, 3 up armor save as well. And then the almighty broadside, 2 weapons, 1 support, 2 strength, toughness, wound, 2 up armor. Improved characteristics, recoil absorption, so they always counted as not moving. And, like, I remember that this was a thing that they had originally for this edition, and then the next edition later, they got rid of it for broadsides. So they had, because, like, you know, every edition kept changing broadsides in some weird way that affected their deployment. Improved sensors, which was not really ever used. Like, I mean, if you did ambushes, obviously like Codiciums or lictors using secret deployment Tyranids, it would affect stuff where they had, this was like acute sentences before acute senses was codified as a USR in 4th edition. But like all battle suits from the get-go as being had acute senses, and nobody ever really used them. And then the big thing that was really a massive game changer for the time and actually has like to this day affected a lot of the rules was the jetpack. Because after this codex, jetpack infantry and jetpack as a unit type or unit subtype has become a thing in mainline 40k entirely because of the Tau using it all the time.
Yep.
And it was a big deal. It's a big deal that you could go, all right, we're going to move like infantry in the movement phase, but they can ignore intervening terrain. And then in the assault phase, they could jump again, like just 6 inches back in the assault phase.
What messed me up was the first couple games I played were against whack fags, if I can use that terminology.
To those in our audience that might not know, whack fags are win at all cost faggots, and whack faggotry is a disease in 40k that has been a problem.
I didn't have anyone who had any interest in teaching me how to play for like the first 5 or 6 games I played.
I had a similar experience.
Yeah, so I didn't know they could do that. Until I encountered somebody who actually cared if I had fun or not. Because everyone's like, oh no, they're just jump infantry. They can just move 12 inches.
Yeah, which is like, they can't actually even do that. They can't.
No.
Like,
I had people tell me that. I had people try to tell me the battle suits are vehicles. I had people tell me that I couldn't mix and match the weapons on them. I had people try to tell me that they can't use multiple weapons in the same turn. Just all kinds.
Yeah,
all kinds of
our local community. Like I for full disclosure, I Omegon know Aun'Shi in real life. We came up together in some of the same game shops, and our local game shop community is terrible. Is terrible. Like it's
there's a few good people.
Yeah, obviously, like everywhere, but for the most part, most of them are at the they don't care about the fluff, they don't care about fun, they don't care about the vast majority of them don't care about those things, but at the same time hyper competitive. So it's a I guess for lack of a better term, very toxic community.
When the Baneblade first came out, my parents bought me one as a Christmas present. I fucking built that motherfucker in under 2 days. I brought it to the shop and had someone try to bully me into playing a game. A guy who had a pure Forge World army tried to bully me into playing a game for keeps.
Yeah, he tried to take it.
Yeah, with his tournament grade, with his tournament grade list, and me playing Conscript Blob.
We could probably tell stories about this dude at some point later if anybody wants, but for reference, this guy was such a scumbag that he in 4th edition, before Apocalypse came out, before
he would refuse to play if you wouldn't let him use his Forge World stuff.
Yeah, because you had to ask to allow Forge World in regular 40k, and he ran Imperial Guard with he ran a Vulture unironically before flyers were even a thing in the tabletop meta. So he would just destroy you without actually trying. He had, he would sit there and go pure skill as he used an airstrike on a skirmish. It was ridiculous.
He had those Goliath mines that were 20 points, and it was a satchel charge.
Yeah, the Cyclops.
Yeah, and all of his squads were 5-man veteran squads with 3 satchel charges.
Yeah, if anybody in the audience knows about the 5th edition Imperial Guard Meltavet shenanigans, he ran that in 3.5 4th edition before it was even on the radar. He had basically a list like that. It was stupid. It was so dumb because you couldn't do that back then without Forge World, and he still did it.
Yeah, because he had Forge World stuff.
Yep.
And would try to bully people.
This is something that 1717 will get a kick out of. Another thing that changed a lot of the game was the stealth suit. The stealth suit actually was not the first time. The original stealth suit rules. Modern stealth suit rules are bonus to cover save. Simple, easy, streamlined. Original stealth suit rules was you had to roll to see them as if it was night fighting, but you don't get to apply night vision because they're fucking invisible.
I fucking loved stealth suits. I have 18 of them.
And the funniest thing about the
metal
suits
ones
was everybody hated the Tau for having the stealth suits as an option, but two were the major things. One, stealth suits were not actually that common in lists because they took up the same slot as crisis suits, so most of the time people would just take crisis suits instead. Secondly, the stealth suits weren't the first army to do this. Well, no, everything's expensive. It's 40k. They weren't the first army to have.
No, I meant points cost.
Oh yeah, but they weren't the first army to have, or unit in general to have these kind of rules. There was an army that already had the same kind of, you have to roll to see if you can shoot us because it's night fighting, but you don't get to apply night fighting. And because that was the fucking Grey Knights. The Grey Knights prior to 5th edition had a psychic power that was always in play called the Shrouding that made it so that you had to fucking roll to see if you could shoot them. It was terrible. It was terrible. But nobody
it's the Grey Knights. Of course it's fucking terrible.
I will never forget the salt that you would have when you would roll triple ones and could not see my stealth suit 6 inches away. As they just slam you with 18 strength 5 AP 5 shots.
The stupidest thing about that was not even that. It was the fact that the night fighting rules, the way that they worked like for this was, it wasn't that you could just like, you got a hit penalty. It was just you straight up were not allowed to target the unit if you couldn't see them.
No. If you targeted them and failed, I think one of the additions, I'm not sure if it's, it wasted the shooting.
And it was like, this applied to when you had flamers. So even if it's like, essentially what that meant was, there's a unit of stealth suits like close by, and this Chaos Marine unit would be like, quiet, I hear something in the bush. And they would look in the bush and then be like, all right, everybody fire. And they would just open fire on the bush, hit nothing, and then the bush would fire back and kill everybody. And it was like, this would happen when you had a Chaos Marine with a flamethrower just hosing down the whole area, being like, well, I didn't hit nothing with this template. Even though the whole point of the template back then was that it didn't miss.
My interpretation of that, for humor's sake, was always they're hovering 10 feet off the ground.
All right, guys, everybody activate your jetpacks.
Well, everybody's like, oh, there's the telltale shimmer of stealth suits, but that's actually just the dust being kicked up underneath them while they're hovering.
Yeah, I can see it, but I mean, I'm not saying I like streamlining, but I think that it was kind of a good thing that they streamlined stealth suits into just being a cover save and open and stuff, because it was a lot more fair. But I still it was still a very flavorful rule back then though, which is something you can always appreciate.
Yep.
And now here we come to the weapons, which are great, and more of the original sketch work, and then revised obviously to put on for these Tau runes for when this is original sketch work by Jess Goodwin that he revised later to put onto the thing. This is a heavy flamer that you don't actually see in game anymore. There's no models that have a heavy flamer like it.
Yeah.
It's like the broadside railgun. All this stuff is really cool. And then obviously you can see the profiles on them were crazy. Fusion Blaster is just, it's a melt-a-gun, whatever. Plasma Rifle was a big deal back then because it was a plasma weapon. It was AP2 rapid fire, but it didn't have Gets Hot, which nobody really saw because Gets Hot was on everything in every other army basically. Any kind of plasma gun style weapon, where it was high strength, high armor piercing, multiple shots. It usually had Gets Hot because it was in the class of a plasma weapon. Their flamers exactly the same as literally everybody else. Missile pod, low AP but high. A missile pod was basically an autocannon. Burst cannon was a big deal because you could put a bunch of them on multiple units, or you would have stuff like stealth suits where it'd be 3 or 4 guys that had one each, and that was 3 shots apiece. And then the war gear that allowed it: 4-up invuln for a shield generator, drone controller that let you have drones, target lock that let you split fire, multi-tracker that they finally made to be standard equipment in 5th edition because if you didn't waste a hard suit point, a hard point on a multi-tracker, battle suits that had more than one gun couldn't fire more than one anyway. So
yeah, that's right. And that's how I used to do that.
And then until 5th edition, when they made the multi-tracker standard issue on all battle suits. So that was a big deal. The railguns, which were a huge deal because strength 10, AP 1, 72-inch range. If you get hit, you are dead. It was just, if you get hit by this, you die. That's basically what happens to nearly everything in the game. But smart missile systems, which had all these weird special rules about ignoring cover and night fighting and everything because they're smart, which was out there at the time, and then later on more stuff got that rule.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the worst thing, drones. The best thing and the worst thing. Do you want to talk about drones, Aun'Shi?
I always made sure to take 2 gun drones with every squad.
Not shield
of
drones?
Everything. No. Gun drones, because give me more of that sweet strength 5, AP 5.
Yeah, because they had pulse carbines, which had pinning. So.
And they were twin linked.
Yep. even though they were ballistic skill 2 in this edition, and they got better later on.
For 10 points.
Yeah, and then shield drones were a big deal back then because you could, if you had a shield drone, everybody in the unit had the 4-up invuln save, and then the way drones worked was that you could put the wounds on them like they were an ablative wound. You could, so if anything got, if you had like a Tau commander or something that had a bunch of drones and he got shot by something high strength and failed to save, you can just be like, oh, you shot the drone, not me, I'm fine.
Yeah, but then that became an issue because it slowed down the game because you had to roll 1d6 over and over. No, that was right. This was before then.
This was before
Back
musical
then,
wounds.
The entire squad could use that 4-up invuln.
Yeah, it was, and then like later on they had to make it specific, and then they introduced precision strike. Like every time, it was really dumb for a while. How like at the end of 4th edition until 7th edition, every single time GW tried to introduce something that reduced the bloat of the game, they just increased the bloat of the game.
Yeah.
And they, like that, and that's basically the byline of 8th edition was like, oh no, we're streamlining it, we're reducing bloat, and it's like, no, you made it worse. Like every time, you made it worse. 1717, do you have anything to say about any of this?
I did not have personal experience with playing against Tau, as Omegon mentioned earlier, back when I was still regularly playing the wargame. And I was not aware until actually earlier this year that the Tau pulse weapons were originally and have been strength 5.
Yeah, this is a
for
big deal.
Just regular infantry weapons.
To
With
tell
the range
story,
that they have.
to retell the story for the millionth time. 1717 at one point gave me shit about the Rogue Trader, like for the Fantasy Flight RPG Rogue Trader, where they introduced a supplement that let you play as Tau characters. He brought it up to me randomly one day. He's like, "Hey, have you seen this? Why are these guns so overpowered? Are like Fantasy Flight a bunch of weebs? Like the Tau favoritism is ridiculous." And it was pointing out the pulse weapon profiles, and it was like,
yes, because they were better than Gauss rifles
or bolters
for the same game, or bolters. Yeah, and they were better than Necron infantry weapons, which I thought was just ridiculous.
And they had about the same damage profiles, like 2d10 plus something energy, which is about the same damage as like a heavy bolter in the same system. And I was like, hey, dude, I don't know what your problem is. All this looks relatively accurate to the tabletop. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then I showed him the pulse rifle profile. And it's like, you don't understand. This goes back to 3rd edition. He's like, what?
I never had dubious pleasure of playing against Tau players. So I never experienced the absolute horseshit that is these weapon profiles.
The worst thing
if you want to talk about some serious salt, my fire warriors had infamously good luck in hand-to-hand combat. One of our friends stopped playing because his Gene Stealer cult lost to fire warriors in hand-to-hand.
Not Gene Stealer cult, Gene Stealers. Like
no, he played before they had Gene Stealer cult. He played Gene Stealers.
Yeah, although there was a player who actually played Gene Stealer.
But that's a matter of luck, which is fine. You know, sometimes you'll just lose random.
Yeah.
Well, it was.
It was consistently happening.
It's funny, but I'm not bothered by it because there's no numerical support for it. It's just bad luck. But this being the way it is, strength 5, 18-inch.
That's the
rapid fire. You know, here's the thing about all of this stuff.
That's the thing I have to say about it, though. That's a big deal. The pulse rifle was ridiculous in 3rd and 4th edition, not just because, it's strength 5 on the basic infantry weapon. That's crazy. Because it was still AP5, so it wasn't like, wrecking Marines left and right.
No.
The big thing was the fact that it had a 30-inch range, and back then, rapid fire was half your range for double tap, not 12 inches.
No, it was specifically 12, and then they turned it into half range. Then
was that 4th edition? Or 5th edition, where they made it in specifically rapid fires if you're within half range, fire twice.
It's gone back and forth a couple times. It went when it first came out. They had to be 12 inches to fire twice. Then they changed it to half range, Then they changed it back.
Yeah.
But then gave Tau a specific caveat that said their rapid fire range was 15.
Yeah, but it's like still like that those extra 3 inches for
Yeah,
double
they
tap.
gave Tau the specific caveat to keep them completely fucking ridiculous.
Well, to be fair, like that might have been why, and I could see it.
The
because there is
caveat
some
was because people stopped taking fire warriors.
But yeah, but like what I was gonna say
People
was
stopped taking fire warriors because they're more balanced now.
Yes,
So,
that's the direction 40K's gone. If you weren't aware.
This is
Yes.
pretty terrible. The last 3 editions, people have actually stopped taking fire warriors as troops because
Oh no, we
they
gotta
complained-
give them a buff because people stopped having completely overpowered units and they bitch.
no, you
No,
understand.
their mantra became nothing's overpowered if everything is.
Yeah, and like the issue
Yeah,
was
this is
that-
just modern GW. Is they took the lesson of people bitch at us if stuff isn't as overpowered as it used to be, and we try to balance the game. So just make it worse forever and just accelerate the process until
Yeah, it's
nothing fucking works anymore.
Well, it's
Yeah.
I blame 5th edition because Robin Cruddas and Matt Ward
No,
basically started forcing power creep. Like they deliberately accelerated power creep to sell
Well,
models.
Yeah, that's 100% why. Like, they were like, oh,
They wanted to sell models. They wanted, the newer players to feel like their army was strong and they could, even though they would fucking suck because they're new to the game.
Yeah, and like
The
you knew
last-
this was a thing because like Matt Ward only wrote Space Marine codexes for a while, and every single codex he wrote, like you'd have units that the previous codex would also have that in the new codex were just inexplicably better for the same points cost.
or they'd reduce the points cost
yeah,
to try
where
to
he
sell more of them.
Yeah, where it's like the Blood Angels have like 30 variants of Dreadnought that all of their guns were inexplicably like cheaper and yet more powerful than all of these same guns and same options on, Ultramarine generic Space Marine Codex Dreadnoughts and stuff like that. But what I was going to say about the Pulse Rifle, like yeah, there is a lot of Tau favoritism at GW itself inexplicably, but the thing with that caveat about the 15-inch range that they did for a while was I could see it being justified just because literally the pulse rifle is the only weapon in 40K that comes to mind that was rapid fire, aside from also this Kroot gun that had a range that wasn't 24 inches. Because like when the original,
but that's why people stopped taking Kroot, is because when they changed it to half your range, they didn't bump that up. So Kroot went from having shortened range regular but could still rapid fire okay to wow, you have to get it within 9 inches if you want to double tap, but you're gonna charge.
Yeah, but like I mean that was honestly the big thing with the rapid fire and the Kroot rifles was like I don't think for 3rd through 5th edition anybody actually double tapped their Kroot rifles at any time I ever saw, like at least not.
Yeah, because if you were within 9 inches, you were trying to charge.
Yeah, and it was like wasn't it like until 6th edition, like if you double tapped using rapid fire unless you had
could not
Relentless,
charge.
Yeah, you couldn't charge, and it was like, so what the fuck's the point?
Yeah.
And yeah, but among other things, the bonding knife war gear, which was like, it was cool because it was like, look, it's a melee weapon, and it's like, actually it's not. It's a fucking special rule for regroup and stuff. Photon grenades, which were the first defensive grenades, even though like GW doesn't understand what the terms defensive and assault grenades actually mean.
Nope.
EMP grenades, which was like, they were pretty cool because they were haywire grenades light.
I just remember in the Fireware game, photon grenades actually fucking killing people.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a stun grenade. Thump, guardsmen all over the room.
Yeah, but remember, Fire Warrior also had the Minty Fresh guns. Because for
Minty
some
Fresh.
reason, Imperial Plasma weapons don't fire small suns at you. They instead, are made of
Fire
menthol.
crisp minty freshness.
Yeah, they fire solidified menthol and people die from icebreakers in their mouth.
There were people we were friends with who could not remember that it was supposed to be a plasma gun because it didn't work like they do at all in the game or in the fluff. So you were just shooting people with minty freshness.
Yeah, like the weapons, none of them in Fire Warrior overheated. And for some
it's a regular fucking Space Marine. I'm gonna shoot him in the chest with a plasma gun. Oh shit, he looks refreshed.
Yeah, like the worst thing about it that made it minty fresh was like it's blue plasma like in the fluff. But it was that the particle effects for when it fired looked like snowflakes instead of like heat motes.
Yep.
Because the game, because that was an old. It's like, what is that? Unreal Engine 2 or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
I had to pay 30 to get that game before it was available online. I had to buy the book for $30, and it came with the game.
Yeah. But the book was pretty good because
Yeah,
the book.
because the book is just that fucking fire warping, like, Jesus, Aun'Shi, what is going on?
That I mean,
Welcome to the galaxy, son.
Tau Doom guy might as well have been the title of that book. But I mean, that book was good because it was written by Simon Spurrier, who the other book he wrote was Lord of the Night, which is probably one of the best, if not the best, Chaos Space Marine book ever written. And of course, all of his work got basically like sidelined, and he left GW because they just shit on him.
Yep.
But moving on. Honor Blade, also one of the, like, an actual melee weapon option, only for ethereals, +2 to strength, no one cares. Then this is the big deal, marker lights. Now, Aun'Shi, do you want to explain to 1717 why marker lights were a hard meme, and to this day are still a hard meme?
Are you aware of them at all?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am.
Have you seen the true fucking horror of double tapping pulse rifles hitting on 2s?
I have not personally witnessed it. I have heard secondhand.
So firing at a squad of guardsmen veterans or the sign of a rhino. 24 shots, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, no saves.
Yep.
Absolutely Harambe. Or even better, doing it with railguns.
Yeah, and that was like, and then also
just pick what you need, and it's gone.
Yeah, and then also, you know, you pop a marker light on somebody, and then you could fire a missile from off screen.
That wasn't this edition yet.
Next edition they let you like hit stuff with seeker missiles if it was marker lit.
What was goofy in this edition, I think, was you could fire the marker. You could take an upgrade for your squad leader. It might not be this edition, but basically he would fire as an independent unit. So you have him shoot at the target with his marker light, and then the unit gets to hit on 3s.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing that this edition had, that this codex had, and every codex since then has had. The very oddest thing, and 1717, you'll laugh about this. Space Marines, ballistic skill, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4. Guardsmen, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3. Sisters of Battle, warrior nuns trained for their whole life, similar to Space Marines. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, right? Fire warriors.
Of course.
Fire warriors, who their entire battle philosophy is don't get into close combat, shoot from range. Everything is based around range. Shoot to kill, shoot accurately, blah, blah, blah. Shoot, 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 accuracy, 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 precision, precision, precision. Fire warriors, weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 3. Not 4, 3. They don't hit on 4s. They don't hit on 3s like Space Marines or Sisters of Battle. They hit on 4s, like Guardsmen, who most of the time in the fluff have no training at all. Like, next to none training at all.
Yep.
I mean, that's more like PDF troopers, really. Although, maybe it was back in, like, the older fluff, it was more like that.
And the older fluff conscripts were still ballistic skill 3.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Or not fluff, but older crunch. Unless I'm...
Yeah.
But, it was like... I guess it was for balance purposes, because they looked at the pulse rifle profile and were like, if we make this thing be used by guys who are all ballistic skill 4 in 3rd edition, 4th edition, this will be ridiculous.
Maybe Tau just don't have very good binocular vision because they're evolved.
That's been fluffed.
That was fluff. That was fluffed as Imperial propaganda that like the Tau have poor vision, but it was.
I mean, they're evolved from like bovine-like herbivores. That's just how it's going to.
That's
be.
Also actually propaganda.
They're not evolved from cows.
They have hooves. They were apparently they were a carnivorous hoof, like they were evolved from carnivorous hoofed plains predators.
Oh well, if they were carnivores and like plains predators, then they have really great eyesight.
Yeah. And apparently in like the actual fluff on it in the modern day is that they have they have worse peripheral vision than humans, but better depth perception.
That
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
I'm not sure, unless they have like a third eye hidden somewhere. I'm not sure that
It's
works.
in the nose.
Oh, I see.
That's not a nose. Remember the facial, like some of the lore contradicts that too. Like, there's a lot of lore that like the facial slit does nothing, and there's a lot of lore that the facial slit is their nose. But
And
like,
then there's other bits of lore where the facial slit is actually a way into their brain cavity.
Or somehow
the facial slit is the vagina of the Tau.
Yeah, there's also lore on like
yeah, that's why the females. It's like a fucking pitchfork shape.
Yeah, like it's
exactly.
It's Y-shaped on females and just I-shaped on men. But that's
just
not
a
even
big face cloaca.
Oh,
that 1 second.
No, they've changed what the facial slit is so many times it's retarded. In one of the novels, a guy gets into a fucking battlesuit to try to hijack it. The suit doesn't do anything. They open the fucking pod because it's a regular human, and it fucking pulls like a big rod out of his forehead that's just supposed to go into Tau facial slits.
That was the last Chancers, because wasn't it like their tech guy?
Yeah,
like
it was
had
a
the
fucking
whole crew, and they're infiltrating the Tau base. Yeah, and like the tech guy. Yeah, the tech guy was a heretic, and his whole thing was like, no, I have to understand their technology. I have to, and like. They're like, all right, we got to plant this bomb down this hallway. And he, like, peels off, and he's like, no, guys, I'm going to jack one of these battle suits. They're like, you idiot, come, we have to plant this bomb. And he's like, no, but battle suit. And he gets inside of it, and it closes, and then it does nothing. And it just, everyone's just, like, looking at him like, all right, well, you're going to, like, what the hell? And then it opens back up, like, a minute later, and his, like, there's, like, a spike stuck in his face, and his body is, like, smoking and like, blackened and fried from, like, some... like protection program that like destroyed him, and he just flops out of it dead, and they're like, you idiot.
No, it doesn't even burn him up. It literally just stabbed him in the forehead, and he died because he doesn't have a face vagina.
Oh,
that's the waste removal tube for the face cloaca. Yes, that's the face cloaca. So what actually happened is it shoved itself into his face and sucked out his brain.
Yeah,
because it was trying to suck the poop out of it.
It sucked out his brain. But one of the fucked up things about that, like, I'm just making this note before I move on because we should move on. The face slit being like different between male and female is not even like explicitly written anywhere. It's just implied because the only female Tau that's has canonical art about him is Shadow Sun, and Shadow Sun has been drawn with the Y-shaped slit instead of the I-shaped one. So it's like apparently that's just the canon now because the fan base just makes up its own canon.
Well, also GW didn't help it because, you know, they're like, we need to differentiate that she's a female. It'll look really stupid to have tits on a battle suit.
Yeah, we can't just it was fucked up because she was basically.
You can't just say she's female.
Yeah, originally she was just a Samus XP, and now she's like, you know, Queen Tsundere. And everybody and her mom have shipped her. Everybody and their mom have shipped her with the fucking White Scars captain or some shit now because of how weirdly they wrote the new Damocles lore, where they're like, no, let's just have an alien and a space marine have sexual tension during a firefight. It's like, why did you write this?
It was maybe sexual tension for her. For the White Scars captain, it was just murderous
intent.
He was trying to decide when he'll be allowed to kill her.
Yeah, most of the new Damocles Crusade lore is terrible, but it has some fantastic artwork. Like there's a piece where there's a White Scars biker.
She mistook fucking kill you eyes for fuck me eyes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, moving on. Ion Cannon. I wanted to make a note about this. The Ion Cannon and the Railgun for the Hammerhead. Because the Hammerhead had the submunition round, which was a big deal because an Ordnance Blast back then was big. And then Ion Cannon being AP3 and Heavy 3 was like, hey, I'm going to take a Hammerhead and 500 points against Space Marines. Alright, Space Marines are dead. I'm killing half a squad a turn.
Yep.
And like, somebody recently, I think it was the Outer Circle, said that the Ion Cannon didn't show up until 4th edition and it was useless. In 4th edition, I was like, what are you talking about? So there's that.
Motherfuckers don't know.
Then the Tau vehicle upgrades were always weird because like they had a lot of vehicle upgrades and all of them were super useful and nobody ever spent the points on them. Like Sensus Mines were good. The targeting array was just ridiculous.
I always took a multi-tracker.
That was on battlesuits. Oh wait, no, it is here.
Yeah, they had their own. It let them move 6 inches and shoot everything.
Yeah, before they had the whole like tank classification rules for like, you know,
yep.
This is a tank, so it can move this much and shoot. And then the targeting array is just ridiculous. And then disruption pods were fun, and they could take their own gun drones, and then flechette dischargers.
No, they just came with them. They just came with gun drones.
Yep. But it was considered vehicle upgrades for some reason. And then the internal black sun filter that like ended up later on, they put the black sun filter and the multi-tracker on everything. So all Tau had night vision. And then big thing in the armory were the hardwired stuff, where these were cybernetics, which were like other battlesuit add-ons that you could spend points to put them on HQ choices as cybernetics, as basically cybernetic upgrades. If not like, well, they said like, oh, it could be warrior jewelry or something, but usually it was a cybernetic upgrade that didn't take up a hard point on their suit.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about the vehicles because I always took a multi-tracker. If I didn't want to take marker lights, I'd usually take the targeting ray. I'd always take the disruption pod because it made some serious salt.
Yep.
Like people who took melta guns hated that.
They like what's funny is like you know who also had disruption pods but was like worse.
Dark Eldar?
The Dark Eldar this edition had night fields, which were 12 inches, and it had no minimum. It reduced the range of any weapon firing at the vehicle by 12 inches, and it didn't have a minimum range it reduced it to. So it was like, if you, it was just like, hey, you can't see us. John Cena on a boat was just a raider.
Disruption pod, and then target lock, because it was hilarious to have the split fire.
Even though, like, the target lock, you'd think you wouldn't need it because all of the Tau vehicles had a turret-mounted weapon, and then the rest of their secondary weapons were drones on the front that you'd think would have their own independent targeting anyway because they were drones.
Nope.
Which is stupid, but...
Yep.
Pair of gun drones, 20 points.
Always.
Organization. Yes, back in the day when it just was 2 HQs, 6 troops, 3 elites, 3 fast attack, 3 heavy support, and that was it. There's nothing else. Stop it with your fucking... I can take all my elites as troops, and I have 15 fast attack, and yada yada yada. Rules for when people cared about campaigns, or GW cared about having campaign rules. They had strategy ratings, centuries, experience. And then here we go into this stuff. Commander... Nobody, I never ran into anybody who just ran a Chassel. They always took a Chassel. Because Ballistic Skill 5 was not...
Yeah, why would you not?
It's 25 more points for I'm going to hit everything all the time because I can.
Yeah, give him 2 burst cannons. Enjoy.
Yeah, you give him a hardwired multi-tracker.
Yep.
And then he could take a retinue. Like the bodyguard, this was 3rd edition, 4th edition, when they still had retinue rules, which were cool.
Yep, miss it.
All this artwork, more John Blanche. And then Ethereals. 0-1. Why would you take these guys? Why? It's T3 model.
Because you want to lose.
With no save. Not even an armor save. Not even an invulnerable save. No save, but hey, if they're within line of sight, you can make them like reroll morale tests. Non-crew drones, and then the price of failure applied to not crewed drones either during this, and then later on didn't apply to crewed drones too.
Nope.
No. And then also the bread and butter of the HQ area was the bodyguard team, because these guys, they look like they're just other basic broadsides, but they could take a whole bunch of extra war gear and be attached to a Chasseur commander. So then you would just be like, look, it's the squad of just murderers. Just 3 dudes.
I still think that the most hilarious part about the Ethereal is that they're weapon skill 4 for really no reason at all.
Oh no, it's because apparently
They
all
have ritual
Ethereals
duels.
They have ritual duels.
They have ritual duels where they practice. They have some form of martial arts that they practice as a They had a form of martial arts that they would practice as a form of meditation.
That literally no other Tau
Is allowed to do.
Yeah.
This is forbidden martial arts. You're not allowed to get good at punching people. Only Ethereals can do that.
Oh no, they never actually hit each other. Like apparently they would settle in the fluff. They were like they would settle arguments by having bloodless ritual duels where they would just like basically it was like the Phantom Menace where it's just everybody swinging. Like, have you ever seen a behind the scenes of any of the prequel trilogy Star Wars where it's like, all right, you have to imagine you have a lightsaber. You don't actually have a stick. You just imagine that there's a blade because it's all CGI. It was basically that, where it's just
do whatever.
Imagining they hit each other.
Just do whatever.
So,
it'll draw it around you later.
They're just kids playing at like imaginary duels on the playground at recess.
And apparently they did this so long and so much that they were the same weapon skill as Space Marines.
And these are the leaders of the entire Tau.
No, they actually just did it with blunted weapons.
No, you know what? No, they had LARP boffer swords.
I was gonna say it was actually nerf or nothing, but
yes.
What's
the Ethereals are literally LARPers.
No, this went on for 3 editions, and then the 6th edition Codex, they were like, oh no, the ethereal weapons are actually powerful. They made them power weapons. Like, apparently the stupid, like, their stupid fucking, like, guiding sticks were actually, like, had stun sticks, where had, like, shock field generators in them that, like, destroyed bone or something like that. And the Honor Blade had, like, a monomolecular edge and a power field generator later on. It was like, okay, Jeremy Vitok, why? Like, why did you fucking do this?
My Animu.
Yeah, because it was like, nobody was
power katanas.
Yep. Except for, there's one ethereal that they take, but we'll get to that later. Elites, bread and butter of your army was like, well, this is the bread, the butter was fire warriors and devilfish. Crisis battlesuit teams, one of the best elite choices in the game, not just this codex, but like fucking, like crisis suits fucked some shit up for their points really badly. Like,
those guys fuck.
These guys fuck. You could give them target locks. You can give them shield generators. You could give them you could give them each drone controllers with guns and shield drones.
My favorite setup for basic crises was twin linked weapon of need. 2 of them take a gun drone and a shield drone, and then the last one takes the independent weapons and a target lock, so he can shoot at separate units.
Yeah, and then like that was a pretty good one. And then you could also make a troll team where they had all of them had drone controllers and 2 shield drones. So you'd have a team of 3 dudes that would shoot you, and then 6 shield drones. So it'd be like, what are you gonna do? Go ahead. I'm behind 6 4-up infold saves. Because every time they would fail to save, if they had to roll it, you would just take out a shield drone and be like, all right, whatever, the shield drone dies. And they were super mobile because of the jump packs, or jet packs, I should say. This artwork was pretty cool, even though it's kind of weird. He has a target lock and 2 fusion blasters. I don't know why you would need a target lock with 2 fusion blasters, but okay.
You give the other 2 guys twin burst cannons.
Yep. I was supposed to make sense. The other elite choice that people could take that was a fun troll option, and then you could take up to 6 stealth teams or stealth suits in a team.
Yep.
They had infiltrate, and then they had the stealth armor shenanigans where they were just like, look, we're all invisible.
Yep, used them all the time.
Show up, 6 burst cannons in your backfield. Fire warrior team.
I forget who I played, but I know I played them one time in a dawn fight scenario, and they refused to ever play anything with knife fighting again because I took 18 stealth suits.
You have to roll night fighting, and then you have to roll night fighting again, but not night fighting.
No, it just cuts your result in half.
No. Yep. The key is to charge them.
Nope, because you could actually fail the charge.
Yeah, and then later on they took that out, but it was still the whole like, haha, jetpack.
Yeah.
I'll just jump 6 inches away in the assault phase after I jump 6 inches in to shoot you in the face.
The reason why it fucked people up with the night fighting is if they rolled 2 6s, they could see the edge of the stealth suit's firing range. And all the stealth suits have black sun filters, so they just see in the dark perfectly.
Yep. Fire Warriors, yep, pretty good. I mean, Initiative 2, Weapon Skill 2.
You don't want them in combat.
If they get in combat, they're going to get schwacked. But 10 points a model. 17-17. 10 points a model for Strength 5, AP 5, Rapid Fire.
Fish of Fury was a big deal.
Yeah, and then Devilfish, Fish of Fury. Although the Devilfish transport was not like as undercosted as people made it out to be for this edition. 80 points was not that cheap.
It was a fair price for it.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't the shenanigans we got later on when you had like 5th edition guard parking lot where like what was it, chimeras with 30 points apiece for some reason.
35 points with the multi-laser.
35 points for a chimera was absurd.
Yeah.
No, not just a multi-laser and a heavy bolter.
Oh yeah, and the side
gun was
lasers.
free. The bow gun was free, cause fuck you.
Which edition of that was it where the side more side guns could be fired than it actually had, and you just measured them from the hatch for no fucking reason?
I think that was 4th edition, but like 4th edition guard was really like rough and tumble.
I want to say it was 5th.
Well, like 5th edition, I think they made it so the side lasers was just everybody could fire out, and like they.
But it wasn't open topped.
Yeah, like I think
they could fire las guns out.
Yeah, and like in 4th edition, it was they could fire up to 6 las guns, even no matter what they were armed with, because the side lasers were las guns, and then they could open the top hatches, but it would count as open top if they fired 2 guns. So what you could do was like you go open the top hatch and fire a mortar out.
4th was you could fire the guns, but you had to take line of sight from the actual guns.
Yeah, and then I don't know. The vehicle rules have always been kind of hokey for transport.
Fucking weird.
Yeah, though, like still, this I'll say. The Devilfish was weird, and Fish of Fury was a weird thing that existed entirely because the lack of true line of sight and how like the model was shaped. But dear God, like Relic making the Devilfish represent this by being invisible was fucking dumb when they came out in Dark Crusade. They were like, look, it's a Devilfish, it's invisible for some reason.
Yeah.
But 1717, what do you think about this?
I mean, this was, at least as far as I remember, this was like before the Devilfish, like for people that don't know what Fish of Fury, the Devilfish had the skimmer type.
Yeah.
Back before people really understood how skimmers work. And back before they made it clear whether or not you could actually like use them for cover.
The ruling, if you don't mind me going into detail on it, the ruling on it was skimmers didn't block friendly line of sight, but the game also stated that enemy vehicles block line of sight.
Yes. So it specified friendly line of sight, which means they could shoot you from behind the skimmers, but you can't shoot them. And also weapons that could target skimmers and like how exactly you dealt with, shooting down Devilfish troop carriers and so on. When this first came out, this is the first edition of the Tau Codex. This is the first Tau Codex. Yeah. People weren't really used to dealing with skimmers in general.
Yeah.
And when you combine that with, firstly, like how cheap they like not like super cheap. Like they as was said earlier, their points cost was very fair, but being able to use them as basically like a mobile bunker that you can shoot out of, but they can't shoot you until they get rid of the skimmer in front of your units.
Yeah.
Was complete horse crap. And
it was because the only other armies at the time that had transport skimmers were Eldar and Dark Eldar. And Dark Eldar, all of their skimmers were open topped and they weren't tanks. So they weren't bulky and offered like real
They didn't block any line of sight.
And this was before there was true line of sight, so like they had to use virtual line of sight rules, which was the main problem. But also like the main thing was that it was because the pulse rifles were 30-inch range. So like, because you could potentially do Fish of Fury with Eldar, with Craft Worlders, where you had like Wave Serpents or Falcon Grav tanks do the same thing. Because the idea of the ruling was that the tank as a skimmer would lift off into the air during your shooting phase and then land back in front of you during the enemy shooting phase or something like that. Was essentially like the imaginary scenario. The thing is that the Tau had a 30-inch range gun on all of their Fire Warriors, so they could snipe you from while Fish of Fury was going on. Whereas the Eldar had shuriken weapons that were like 18-inch range. I think like maxed out at 24-inch range, depending on the edition. And then later on, they kept shortening the range of shuriken weapons. And also, like, I mean, 3rd and 4th edition Eldar. Let's be clear here about Craft World Eldar. The Falcon Grav tank was more bullshit by itself than anything any other infantry did in the game. Because of like the whole, it's a Falcon Grav tank for 100 points. It has like 5 different saves.
Yes.
Like, because skimmers in 3rd edition and 4th edition were some bullshit because of how their rules worked. Whereas, like, if they moved at all, even 1 inch, there was a 6+ to hit them.
Yep. Which is where it made the Fish of Fury even worse, since it blocked line of sight.
And it had front armor 12, and like it's just also the weight of one of the big factors in it was just how the model shaped. Like the Devilfish is a big model, and it's a big model for what, like, you know, a relatively minor tank unit, and it had a very weird profile on it where like you could put it like it would block even more line of sight if you parked it sideways, and then frontways. And
you could disembark from the side.
Yeah, and then frontways, and depending on how it worked. Like, you'll have these little, like, these fins on the side where, like, the little wings that the gun drones would sit in. The way it worked that was messed up was, like, certain games people could argue that if you had Tau Fire Warriors that would hide behind those fins, they could fire at you, but you technically could only shoot back at the Devilfish itself, even though you could see the Fire Warriors behind those, like, little wings.
It was it could very much be bullshit.
Yeah.
Where it got really fucking stupid was you didn't want to give them the side just because it was 1 point of armor less.
Yeah.
But you could just rotate the model a 1/4 inch and that counted as moving.
Yeah. And it's because they hold over from fantasy where they were like, they had all these super movement intensive rules in the fantasy rule set versus the 40k rule set where movement was kind of just like, you move. And then it's there. It's like maintain squad coherency. That's kind of it. But, moving on. Kroot Carnivore Squad. Also love this artwork. 7 points a model. Weapon skill 4, strength 4, initiative 3. 1 attack apiece, but not really because they had Kroot rifles, which counted as 2 close combat weapons.
Yep. And if you charge, you got another one.
And if you took a Shaper, you had some other shit going.
Yeah,
you could buy armor, and it would. You could buy armor if you took a Shaper, and it would bump their leadership from 7 to 8.
Yeah, they get a 6 armor for 1 point a model, and they had field craft,
which makes them 8 points a model for like a 6+, as compared to like the Fire Warriors, which have like a 4+, but then 10 points. But the Fire Warriors don't have,
cannot win in close combat against nearly anything without good dice rolls. Like
the Shaper is situational.
Yeah. But
it is like very situational. It is 3 times the cost of the base unit as compared to like a Shasui or like like a Fluff or the Fire Warrior, which is only like the cost of an additional whole model, basically.
The question is, are you going to use Kroots as a line infantry unit or a countercharge unit? If you're using them as a countercharge, you put them behind your Fire Warriors who are behind their Devilfish. And as soon as something gets close enough for close combat, they charge through, take out that unit. Fire Warriors get in the Devilfish, fly 24 inches away, restart Fish of Fury.
Yeah, And
What
then,
really gets me about the Tau infantry, though, is like their, the team leader costs vary pretty substantially between the different things. Like you see, like the stealth team it's 30 points a stealth model.
yeah, but
But then to
And a Shaz
designate yeah, that's only another 10, as opposed to the Fire Warrior, where like to go from Shasla to Shasui is it's the same, but that's the cost of an entire Fire Warrior, rather than 1/3 of the cost of a stealth team unit.
Well, the big thing about the Shasui was you didn't pay 10 points for a Shasui, or even the buff to leadership. You paid 10 points so you could pay another 10 points so you could have
to get a marker light. Yeah.
And the marker light honestly was worth 30 points at that point, basically, because it was like, hey, now everybody's shooting better. Hey,
well, it did 20 points, but yeah.
It wasn't worth it in this edition as much.
Yeah.
Because it made one model ballistic skill 5. Next edition, it gave an entire squad +1 to their ballistic skill, and you could stack it up.
Or you could
reduce cover save,
strike, or reduce cover saves, yeah,
or any combination, and that's when Pathfinders became the meta.
Yeah, all I'm saying is there's the fact that it's so consistent a cost is actually inconsistent between the different teams, because the different teams having like different base unit costs, and even like the Shasui has different stats between like the Pathfinders and like the Fire Warrior team, and like the stealth team. When you just get another initiative basically for like the 10 points you get to for your team leader for them. But then instead of getting another initiative for the Fire Warrior, no, you get another attack instead. Yeah. And it's not especially consistent, and I'm not really sure why they like. Maybe it's for balance reasons, but I'm not really sure how they rationalized doing it the way they did.
It's odd, but I think the codification of it was better later on, because like
it was better later on,
but yeah, as far as the squad leaders go, Shaper, he is situational, but he helped with the whole mercenaries rule and the Eaters of the Dead thing for consolidation. And
like literally, if you want, you're either taking a 10 model Kroot squad to countercharge, or you're taking a 20 model plus a Shaper plus 8 Kroot Hounds plus 3 Kroot Oxes.
You just take a horde kindred that like hide in the woods. It's like just a bunch of bird people jump out of the bush.
It's one troop choice for 31 models.
Yeah, and like the big thing was Fieldcraft and Infiltrate, where you like a troop choice you had that was also that like it's a troops choice, but it's actually a scouting unit that's also like a counter combat unit, and like they could shoot you from cover, then charge out of the cover and hit you, and they would hit like a truck for their points cost.
Yep.
But and then you had fast attack, where it's gun drone squads, which are just kind of weird.
Yeah, they didn't compete much. I'd use them sometimes, but generally, if you're using them to screen for a.
They're kind of a time capsule, actually. If you think about it, gun drones are kind of a time capsule of the this kind of era of model design GW had, because there was a unit like this in like half the codexes. Were like a good example, Rippers in Tyranids for 3rd and 4th edition, right? Nobody actually liked Ripper squads. Nobody went out of their way, but you always got a pack of Rippers and like an extra base or two with every box of Hormigons or Termagants or something. Same thing with gun drones. You got 2 gun drones.
Gun drones with everything. Two gun drones with everything.
With everything. Like, oh look, extra gun drones with your Devilfish. Extra gun drones with your Fire Warrior box.
If we're going on this rant real quick, I was walking around my house and I stepped on something and it was a fucking gun drone gun. The weird like hardline pulse carbines they had. Yes. Where it's like with the hole in the side.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't have a trigger, it has the hole in the side so you can mount it on the thing.
Yes.
I still have a bunch of those in my bits box somewhere too. But
Yeah, because I kept giving them away, because to make it a shield drone, back then you just didn't attach the guns.
Yep, and nowadays it's like there's 40 different versions of drone, and they all have their own specific fine cast
Sniper
model
drone.
or something.
Sniper drones are good.
They're good now. Back then nobody used them.
I used them when they first came out because I liked them, and then they became meta as fuck.
They're a really cool idea, but the issue was they were
hipster Aun'Shi over here.
Yeah,
I liked them before they were good.
Anyway, like I was pointing out, though, it's like I do like the gun drone unit just because it's a time, like even if it's just because it's a time capsule of a time where GW was like, let's make a unit available in the fast attack slot because nobody takes fast attack for shit, of like all this extra crap that comes with all of our modeling kits.
Well, I liked them because what I'd do with them is I'd have them escort my commander around as a screening unit.
As they could do.
So people couldn't charge it.
Although I want to point out while we're here, one thing that drones in general for the Tau have had since this codex onward to the modern day that's always been really weird. Fucking leadership scores and the fact that they're not fearless despite being robots. Like they have self-preservation protocols.
Self-preservation for some fucking reason.
Self-preservation. Their numbers are reduced to less than 4, the leadership drops to 4. Oh no, we have to run away. Like, I honestly think they did that to make it, like, for a balance reason, because they were like, oh no, robots in 40k is bad. Robots bad.
Well, like, they had some, like, Imperial Guard novel where they were fighting Tau, and one of the guardsmen talks about, like, shit, at one point, one of their aircraft flew overhead, and we thought it dropped a shitload of bombs, but they all turned out to be drones. They attacked the camp for, like, half an hour and then just flew away, and no one knows why.
Yep. And they have bombs that are also drones, and they have mines that are also drones. And they have bombs that drop mines that both are drones.
But those don't try to protect themselves.
Yeah, but the ones that are made like they could easily have suicidal like bomb drone infantry. They just don't. Like there's so much cool stuff that the Tau could do with their fluff without even stretching anything. They just don't do. And I'm about to touch on that in a second because we're about to come to the other alien auxiliary. But first, Pathfinders, who in this edition were okay.
You took them you took them because on that devilfish you'd slap the 4 fucking missiles.
Yeah. And then next edition was when Pathfinders were like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pathfinders and like all of their variations became like the go-to fast attack choice.
We're about to get to why I said if you're gonna take a big honker, you take the Kroot Hounds and the Kroot Oxes.
Yeah, because the Kroot Hounds were nasty. Because this was like they didn't really say it, but like beasts, like the unit type of beasts, if you moved like beasts or cavalry not as much as beasts, but beasts or cavalry in 3rd edition, 4th edition was scary because they moved so fast. And Kroot Hounds at 6 points apiece for 2 attacks at initiative 4 and strength 4 and weapon skill 4 was nasty.
And if you take a shaper
to a shaper
unit, they come attached. And if you take a shaper and give them armor, the Kroot Hounds get armor for free.
Yeah. And then they get the release the hounds thing where it's just if they fall back from close combat with a Kroot, they automatically take a strength 4 hit from each Kroot Hound because we're gonna just eat you. And Kroot fucking pursued like crazy too. And then
if you pass that leadership.
Yeah, if you pass the leadership. But that other auxiliary wasn't here yet. They didn't. What I was alluding to before with the other auxiliary was
Vespids next edition
that they didn't add until next edition, which were the other aliens that they added, and Vespids suck.
Vespids, their whole thing. I looked at it. I was like, oh wow, these guys are really good killing Space Marines, except for that range.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, it's one shot. Oh no. Oh wait, no, they're not jetpacks. Oh no. Yep. That was sad. Like,
your heavy support bread and butter right here.
Broadside, yeah. This is why if you like hammerheads, you'd see occasionally, but you never saw sniper drones. Not because sniper drone teams were bad, but because broadside teams for their points have always been amazing, even when they've been nerfed. And it's like there's next to no point in taking snipers over a broadside team because a broadside team can also snipe, but their sniper weapon is a fucking railgun.
72-inch range, strength 10, AP 1.
It's twin links. It's like, you're gonna get hit, son. You're gonna get hit, and you're gonna die.
Yep.
You could take, and this was one like they had. In this edition, they were all basically relentless.
Yep. And then, if you
yeah.
if you went for extra hilarity, you could give them the plasma rifles.
Yeah.
There was no point.
Well,
but
you
you
give
could.
them multi-trackers. You give them multi-trackers, and then they would be able to fire their plasma rifle and their railguns.
No, because they were either like helping the fire warriors with their strength 5, AP 5, and hiding because something was coming after them, and you needed them in cover, or they were out blasting people because they had their shield drones still.
Yeah. Also, it wasn't really worth the points cost to upgrade because smart missile systems were just really good.
Force shots, strength 5, AP 5, no line of sight required.
No
Ignores cover.
line of sight, no cover save. Just the ultimate fire and forget weapon.
The ultimate fuck you guardsman.
Yeah, and then if you didn't
guardsman in a bunker.
What bunker? You have a single window open in the bunker. 15 missiles fly in.
12. They take 12 shots.
Yep. Like, and if you didn't take multi-trackers with them, you could just do this meme where you took shield drones. And you're just like, what are you gonna do to remove my heavy support unit? I'm behind 6 invulnerable saves. Good luck, I'm behind 6 invulnerable saves.
There is no fucking reason to ever take the shield generator. Yeah. Ever.
It's like, ever. It's more expensive than a shield drone. Why?
It makes no fucking sense.
Oh, if the shield drone save fails, it dies, but if you fail your shield generator save, you still have 1 wound. Fuck off. Fuck off.
No, honestly, you always took the shield drones unless you were planning on taking a hammerhead or 2 hammerheads.
Yeah.
Because
then you take hammerheads they were 90 points.
You take the target lock, and then you just laugh because 3 broadsides, you can say, all right, the first one's going to shoot that tank. Oh, I didn't kill it. Now the second one's going to shoot that tank. Okay, now it's dead. Third one's going to shoot that fucking special character.
Yep. Oh shit, I didn't know about this. I completely forgot about this. In 3rd edition, the hammerhead came with the targeting array.
Yep, and 2 separate burst cannons.
Yep, which were drone operated, but not drone operated.
Yep.
So, and it was 90 points, but it came with no weapon system, so you had to pay. But it was like, ion cannon for 30 points was pretty cheap. It's like, so what? In total, 110 points for a tank that will kill half a squad of Space Marines a turn? Yes.
130 points.
No, it's
120 with the ion cannon, and then you have to pay plus 10 for the burst cannon.
Oh yeah, it has to have the burst cannon, you're right. Or you can give it a smart missile system, because fuck you.
No, that was never worth it, because it
was only 1 smart missile system instead of 2, which is weird.
Yeah, so you're giving up 2 shots, you're giving up the ability to split fire, but you ignore cover for twice the cost.
Yeah, it's just too expensive at that point. But, and then and then for 50 points instead of the 30, you can take the railgun, which is always a solid choice because because the hammerhead specifically had access to submunition rounds, so it was good against everything.
Yeah.
The only big issue with it, was its front armor 13. They had nothing with 14 armor, but hey, it's really cheap for a main battle tank that's also a skimmer. Yeah. It's also a skimmer.
So if you have infantry, you could have them Fish of Fury with it, if they don't have their own. Yeah,
assuming they didn't have their own Devilfish. And then the other option was Crudox, which nobody really took as a heavy support choice. They just put him on.
Well, it wasn't a heavy support choice. It was just there for no fucking reason, because when you take it, they count as a part of your troop choice.
That's true. But the big thing about the Crudox was 50 points a model, but it was strength 6, T5, and 3 wounds.
No, and the gun is 48-inch range, 48-inch range, strength 7, AP 4, rapid fire.
Yeah, so it's just boom, boom, boom. Just look, it's a bird gorilla with an AA gun on its back. What are we doing?
That's why they changed the rapid fire rule back from half range to 12 except for Fire Warriors because oh god, the Kroot gun rapid fires at 24 inches.
Yeah. But the Kroot gun was always a weird profile too, though. 17, 17. What do you think?
Oh, I kind of like it. I know it's weird, but it's unique as well.
Yeah,
and like the Kroot themselves are a very unique, I guess you could say, sub-faction of the Tau at this point. But
that's when they had their own White Dwarf book, chapter approved, whatever.
Yeah, the Kroot mercenaries. They were
was really hoping they'd get further.
Kroot mercenaries had a lot of cool, because like the way that they filled out the rest of their choices was they made it so that you had the different kindreds. So you could have like Kroot, Vulture Kroot where they had wings, or Kroot Headhunters where they spat poison and shit.
Yeah.
You could have the Orc Kroot where they were all T4, which everybody took because T4 Kroot is awesome.
Yeah, and it changed what type they were.
Yeah, and like that was all cool, but then like they just never expanded upon it.
Yeah. Because they didn't see much profit in it.
Although here's the cool thing that you'll probably dig, 17. The Krootox's the Kroot gun, like the Kroot gun and all the Kroot rifles, they're actually like all black powder firearms that happen to fire a cartridge that would like the Tau made them custom cartridges that like shoot pulses from like the same as their pulse weapons.
Wait, so they're basically using black powder to fire like pulse grenades at people.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why they're strength 4 AP5.
That's
amazing.
Really cool.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Their weapons are actually super primitive muskets, but the Tau are just like, all right, look, if you won't take energy weapons, if we give you these special bullets, will you shoot these? And they're like, well, do they fit? They put them in, like, yeah, it works. All right, cool. So like the Kroot gun is, and then they found out it
pre-cooks the meat and got disappointed.
Yeah, but because the Kroot like to eat shit raw. But like. That's why all like the Kroot weapons are like their strength 4, despite them being like apparently like black powder tier firearms. Yeah, and then in summary, look, it's all these gun profiles. They're all ridiculous. All of them ridiculous.
And then after that, look at all these well-painted models.
This and like you see this, look, rolling hills, trees, grassy floor. This was every table at every local game shop for many years.
Yep.
That or Cities of Death. Like you never saw like a desert. You never saw like some mountains or something. No, it was like kind of sort of forest and Cities of Death.
Yep.
And here's the Kroot. Look, it's a single troops choice.
It's right up there with the 4th edition Imperial Guard platoon.
Yeah,
where you could have 112 models as a single troops choice.
It was more than that because it was like you could take 5 squads.
It was 5th edition.
Oh yeah.
You got 5 squads, a conscript blob. You could take 5 chimeras, 3 heavy weapons squads of 3 models each.
Yep.
And then the command squad of 5 models.
Yeah, and then everybody had the transport option, like you said with the chimeras,
except for the conscripts.
And the conscript blob was up to 50 models, which was ridiculous.
And I just love the assault they caused.
And then you could attach a commissar to them that made them ridiculous.
Just the one who lurks in the middle with the power fist.
Yep.
Hey, there's that short story about the fucking when you get further down, it's the short story where the fucking Eldar Rangers get ganked.
Yep. A classic XV-15 stealth suits that just look like power armor, which I honestly dig. Like, I honestly dig how big the burst cannon is. And that the original stealth armor was basically just a power suit. It wasn't like an actual battle suit.
Yeah.
Even though they like made the XV-25 the next edition because people complained about it, apparently. I like that this is back when they based all of their they did the basing on their flying model, so it's like it actually looks like they're floating above the terrain.
Yeah.
Old school broadsides. Like these are the original gen broadsides because there's 3 more generations after this that the models changed. Look at those ankles. They're all sad and ridiculous.
Don't do this to me. Don't make me look at them.
They're already doing Fish of Fury. Not really. They have to have the be behind it. But look, it's that guy you hate.
Fuck that guy. I tried to paint that fucking color blue once. I snapped that bitch off and put on a regular helmet.
There he is with his stun sticks. And then they have like the ankles again. Like this guy's on a flight.
I like how he's doing like the arms crossed thing with his fucking stun sticks. He's like a fucking anime character.
Yeah, it was great because originally that was just a close combat weapon, not even two. It was just like into a fight, I could poke you with these sticks. And then the 5th edition Codex, Jeremy Vitok, was like, no, they contain disruption field generators that crack bone with every blow and stuff like that. And it was like, why? Oh yeah, I can't wait till my ethereal gets into close combat with literally anything in the game. Expanding your force, and they talk about, like, I like this, how they had the modeling guides and the painting guides and everything, and when they're like, during this edition, where they were like, this is, like, you should start with this stuff and then build on. Here's your HQ choice. This is what your troops choice will look like. Here's a fast attack, heavy support, elites. This is how you, like, what it'll probably look like. You try using stealth suits to make people mad and getting into your gun line.
Look, fucking tactical tips.
Fish of Fury. Tactically use transports on everything because this is 40k. Construction tips. Glue this first. Clip these. Get a toenail clipper when you're cutting the sprues. It's a good idea. And I mean, by toenail clipper, I mean official GW snips that we sell for $25.
Or you can buy them from Harbor Freight for $1.50.
Shut up. Sued into the ground. Painting tips. Start with a base coat after priming. Shade, details. Dave Thomas
in your paints.
Talking about Tau flesh. Look at how, like, his face slit is colored like it's a third eye. I kind of dig that.
So they are photoreceptors.
Or are they? That's the only time I've ever seen that, though. Every other time, there's just been like a slit in the face. Also, a big thing about the Tau, more than any other faction except maybe the Eldar, they had a lot of fucking gemming being done on their lenses and their guns. That like Golden Demon painters and Heavy Metal really loved gemming a lot of the Tau optics. If you ever notice, like because the Tau have like all these multiple optics in their helmets and everything, and like I like this about the old broadsides was they had the additional armor on the thighs, and then these. What was cool about this model, or not really cool, but kind of weird, honestly, was so 1717. These models when they came out, the broadside is based on the XV8 kit, and they were all plastic except for the railguns. And the backpack things, like these are the stabilization fins that they would place that would get glued on over the jetpack because broadsides didn't fly. But the stabilization fins and the guns railguns were pewter. Yeah, the feet were pewter.
Wait.
The rest of the kit was plastic.
Wait, the feet were pewter?
Yes, because they have different feet.
The legs were plastic.
Yes.
The legs, yeah, because the
so
kit
you had
XV8, which is this one.
Plastic legs supporting like a heavy fucking pewter backpack.
We're back to the ankles.
What the fuck?
Why would back to the ankles?
I'm just making Aun'Shi upset. I'm just here to make him upset.
Is this for all the games I beat you?
I mean, you actually never beat me playing Tau, because I rarely played against you playing Tau. You beat me with Imperial Guard plenty, but...
Yeah, I know.
But let's be fair here. Half that time it was because you played Armored Company, you giant homo.
Yeah, we're just not going to talk about that fucking Terminator getting killed by a las pistol, huh?
I always like talking about that Terminator getting killed by a... because that's hilarious. Alright, I'm going to tell a story real quick. 1717. I had a Terminator squad that deep struck in front of one of his veteran squads that were sitting in an objective, and we're like, "Oh God!" And like the guardsman squad went, "Oh God! Oh God! Thank God! 4 out of the 5 of us have plasma guns. We're gonna be able to wreck this Terminator squad." 4 guys fire plasma guns, double tapping, so it's like 8 shots. 3 of them overheat, blow themselves. Like 3 of them overheat, so 2 guys burn alive from their own plasma exhaust. 2 of them hit. One of them fails to wound. The other one, like the last remaining like plasma hit,
Major 5 up.
Doesn't go through the 5-up invul, and same from Terminator armor. So the Terminators just sit there laughing as they just trudge forward underneath this hail of plasma gun fire. Like, we're gonna get in close combat, we're gonna beat you up, guardsman. And the guardsman squad leader with the las gun is like, oh god, double taps las gun, gets 1 hit, gets 1 wound. Terminator laughs, rolls 2-up armor save, rolls a 1, gets shot in the face through the eye slit and dies. And the Terminator squad looks at him and is like, you serious?
Nice. It's fucking guardsmen, man. That's just how they are.
It's how it goes. Plasma guns do nothing. Las gun straight through the fucking eye hole.
The time 50 conscripts killed Abaddon.
Hang on a second. Let's be fair here. There's a story of that time 50 conscripts killed. Insert anything in the game here. Like
the time fucking Darkhammer's 32 Hormigons charged him and then lost while the conscripts suffered 2 casualties.
That time a Crisis suit jumped behind a Lehman Russ and punched it in the power plant in close combat and killed it.
Absolutely hilarious.
Fucking whatever. Look at all these cool flying bases. And, like, look, you can see, they have these cool, like, hoof feet things that are, like, reminiscent of them, but then the ankle joints. And then these feet are totally different, as you can see, 17.
Stop it. Get some help.
I'm only doing this to hurt you. The Hammerhead looking great, as usual. Like, honestly, the Hammerhead's just a great model. It's so unique, but functional looking. Like, look at all this armor curving. Yep. Oh, yeah.
I wish they'd done something. I wish they'd done something different with the side hatches.
Yeah, for the Hammerhead specifically, so it didn't just look like they had a side hatch.
Yeah, like
something that does bother me a little bit about the Tau models is, like, yeah, they have digit grade legs, right?
No, they don't. They have hooves, but they're not like digit grade. They have artwork where they're digit grade, and they have artwork.
No, like look, they have like the backward bending, like whatever it is.
They actually don't. Like, that's the messed up. That's his knee. That's not the ankle, that's his knee. The ankle is in the normal spot, except it's just a hoof instead of a foot. And what's messed up is there's a lot of fan artwork where they have the Fire Warriors, like the actual Tau themselves, have digigrade legs. And there's a lot of official artwork where the Crisis suits have digigrade legs like that.
Still, like, the problem I'm saying is the hoof is a bit far forward from the ankle without much behind it to support it. And it kind of bothers me that these things are supposed to be bipedal.
Yeah.
Well, they were bovines less than 6,000 years ago.
Yeah, they were cow people. It's fine.
Yeah, but as you can see, like, just look at how thin.
They were just the fucking cows from fucking Farside. What their cow tool means.
Tau was the secret cow level of the 40k universe.
Oh.
The Imperium opened the portal once and then, like, left. Like, they went there, they were like, this is horrible, let's not come back. So, they have the old tank commander model, like back when GW had, like, open hatch tank commanders on every tank model. It was cool. Look at this coloring where he has, like, exhaust streaks for the engines. Another cool thing about this, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but, like, a lot of these pieces on the model were movable. 17, like this turret was rotatable. There was you could pivot the ion cannon or the hammerhead, the railgun in this case. These drones that carried the secondary guns were removable. The sensor pod in front was rotating. And, like, the jets on the back, you could rotate them. So you could have them, like, they could rotate because this thing is, like, it's called a gunship, not just because it fulfills the role of a gunship, but it's not really a tank so much as it's a VTOL that lands and shoots people.
Once again, why I wish they had something different. Like, I wish the Hammerhead, like, either like, maneuvering thrusters on there.
Yeah.
Just something.
Yeah, or like additional ammo racks on the outside, though. Like, I don't know. Like, I like the idea of Imperial Guard having like a very, like, modern practical, like, the inside of a tank, there's a premium on space, so we keep all this extra shit on the outside. look to it.
You know what's really good for me right now looking at this? Look at the hatch on the side of it, where it's placed relative to the intake for that engine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tau hops out of the fucking hammerhead while it's
And then
running.
gets sucked
It's
into the jet.
fucking intake.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
to
sucked into the
be
intake.
fair, whenever they're disembarking, those jets are pointed straight up because it's hovering.
Yeah, like the idea,
So
like this is
instead
the
he's being burned
devilfish.
to death.
Yeah, like I said, those are rotatable. These
Yeah.
are rotatable. So the idea is that like they would be, you rotate them up, and like essentially it would land vertically, and then the side hatches would open. And also there's a back hatch that they could come out of. That's totally safe.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then here's the Tau Commander, you know, because he's got like the special stripes on his sensor spines and everything. Like all these warning symbols. Like, I love all this, like, look at all the detail we put into this paint job just to showpiece, guys, that we'll never actually use. We tried really hard. Look, there's alternate septs. Jungle boys, night boys, other desert boys, snow boys, other jungle boys.
Actual camouflage patterns.
Yeah. Actually, this is something I have to bring up. I hate this in the modern Tau, where, like, this edition and 4th edition, they were like, yeah, these are their uniform colors, but they also paint all their stuff camouflage colors because they're very practically minded. And then, like, the modern edition is like, oh yeah, they all go to battle. Like, Borkan all goes to battle in, like, bright white armor with red stripes because they're honoring Borkan or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, but why?
Because fuck you, that's why.
It's 40k, everything's got to be bright and colorful.
I like that the red gore and regal blue Tau looks like a fucking inquisitorial stormtrooper.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
This was when, like, inquisitorial stormtroopers.
I mean, he could be.
Who knows, man?
Fucking.
He could be. You're right. He could actually be an inquisitorial stormtrooper.
But as you can see, hooves. That's the heel. There's the ankle. There's the knee. Not.
Yeah, it looks a bit better here. Yeah.
It's just weird because the battle suits. I think what happened was that Jess Goodwin drew the battle suits first.
Yes.
Because the battle suits are the heart of Tau. So, like, it makes sense. Also, this is cool because not only is this like, look, guys, this is what a battle would look like, but this is also actually a fluff piece. The famous ethereal, Aun'Shi, led the heroic defense of the Tau outpost of Fio Vash when it came under attack from hordes of orcs. And then here's them fighting some Godsmen. 33rd Cadians. Oh no. I don't
on
know why
the
they're
exact
fighting.
same base.
The exact same base. We just flipped it over and changed out the desert terrain for destroyed cities. Why did Tau have a base that was right, like, literally, like, 30 feet away from a destroyed Imperial base? Nobody knows.
They're probably like prefab shit they just dropped from space or something.
I think that is supposed to be prefab, because you can actually see where the
maybe it's inflatable like moon bases.
we can see
it's a big fucking bouncy house.
We can see
like
where those aren't things like slide in.
Yeah. Also, here's what kills me about this. This isn't a set. These aren't like these sandbags are a set, and some of this outside terrain over here is a set like you could actually buy for Cities of Death and stuff. This stuff though, like this landing pad with the ramp and the armature thing for the sensor pod or whatever this is supposed to be, those are all custom built just for this photo shoot, and they were never made into sets that would be sold.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably like a paint can that some dude took like some PVC pipes and he repainted and like modeled it around.
They're literally like planter pot pieces.
Yeah. And it's
scroll
cool.
down. Scroll down.
It's right there.
Oh yeah. I'm an idiot. But like every codex in this era had this though, where they were like,
that.
Huh?
Somebody clip that. Him admitting he's an idiot.
Do it.
Mark Jones. Look, they had a whole guide on painting Kroot. It's great. Look, you start with the base coat, and you just keep drawing. And you just look, there it is. There it is. Tammy Hay, when she still worked there. The Kroot gun, as you can see, it's huge. Different Kroot colors.
What is with that, like the fucking, like, flash hider on that?
The flash hider?
On the Kroot gun.
I think that's just a muzzle brake, not a flash
hider.
Yeah,
it's just a muzzle brake.
But, like, also remember, it's a practical purpose because the Kroot rifles themselves, like the whole design for them, is primarily it's a fighting staff, and then secondarily it's a gun.
So it's not even a muzzle brake, it's just like something sharp and pointy to stab you with when we're done.
It's a weight.
It's a weight.
Also, look,
it's not a gun, it's just a mace with a hole in the middle.
My furniture, all of their stocks are wood from the home world. My jungle wood. It's like, I like this, that like half the models had arms for a knife. Like just, yeah, I'm gonna stab you. Unique Kroot digestive system allows them to alter their skin pigmentation radically in response to absorbed DNA, and thus Kroot from different kindreds are often identifiable by the color of their skin and quills. Kroot also frequently mark themselves by secreting an oily sweat that colors their desired areas of their skin, and these are another way of recognizing Kroot from different kindreds. This allows you to paint your Kroot in all manner of different color schemes. This Kroot ate lava. This Kroot ate a dwarf. This Kroot ate, like, rocks that were green. This Kroot ate the ocean.
This Kroot ate a fish.
This
Kroot ate yellow snow.
This Kroot ate snow.
This Kroot ate some molten lava.
This Kroot ate a space wolf power armor.
That Kroot ate yellow snow. On the left, skull white.
Yeah.
Don't eat the yellow snow. This could be you.
This Kroot ate some more lava. This Kroot ate a Chaos Marine. I like how this one is like Big Bird over here, like, meh. Kroot Shaper Big Bird. Don't ever call him that to his face. I like this, that he's got this leather hawk helmet on that he can't see out of.
No, it's got one hole for just the eye.
It helps me see better. And this is the showcase of the really well painted and the customized models back when GW encouraged conversions.
I love the regular Kroot Shaper.
Just the Angkor Proc model. Oh no, here's the one. Here's the original.
Yeah, with his fucking executioner fucking hood.
Yep.
Yeah.
I still love Angkor Proc just because he's a boss lord.
Yeah.
He's just like the Kroot that saw the future and was like, all right, guys, let's just look. These Tau guys are assholes, but I say sign the treaty because then we get spaceships and then we can fight everything in the galaxy. And the rest of the Kroot
find
were
the
like,
best food.
And the rest of the galaxy, the rest of the Kroot were like, rest of the galaxy, you say?
That sounds exquisitely delicious.
Yep. Custom one with his forward sight and he's running and everything. Oh, look, it's Farsight.
I hate that fucking sight.
I like old Farsight in comparison to new Farsight. New Farsight
no, not the Farsight, the forward sight.
Shova looks like he has fucking antlers. He looks like fucking like Rudolph.
The bunny ears.
Rudolph the Firecast reindeer, motherfucker.
I like it just because his whole lore was that he takes personal control of his entire section of the battlefield. Because, it's GW, so like half of their commanders' fluff from this era is modeled off of Rommel anyway. But like all of these sensor spines for his like command and control nodes and everything makes sense. Also, like, this is when the Dawnblade was like, it's probably Necrons. It totally doesn't look like a Tomb King War Kopesh that like he stole Necrons from a new Shabti set. Like, look at it. It's just a new Shabti site that he found.
It is. It's 100%. They took a new Shabti fucking scythe and fucking slapped that in the closed hand and were like, holy shit, we can make money off this.
This looks great. What else do we give? A shield. Why? No
antlers.
A plasma rifle. Everybody likes plasma rifles. Literally everyone likes plasma rifles.
This is exactly how that meeting went down, because looking back on that fucking model, it looks like so slapdash together. Oh yeah, his shield and his sword are on the same arm.
Yep.
What the fuck?
It's an energy shield, whatever. He's got a very specific fighting style or some shit. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is it like a dwarf that dual wields shields?
Aun'Shi, also by Tammy Hay.
What a fucking hero.
Aun'Shi with his six-pack.
The most Chad Tau.
He's also got the third eye, so she was still alive as the Kroot broke her ribcage open, the Kroot leader devouring her heart was the last thing Laresh ever saw. Fuck Eldar.
Fucking tasty.
All right, so here we go. Special characters. Now this is a big lore point, and also this is
Holy
from an era
shit,
when
Farsight's 300 years old. No Tau has ever lived that long until the rest of the special characters.
Let's not talk about it so it will be cool and mysterious. Nah, lol, let's like 5 editions later make lore about how his like sword steals life energy or some shit. Fuck mystery.
Like,
it makes him part of the fucking monstrous creature. I forgot about that.
Yes, he was ridiculous in this edition. Like, he only got worse as time went on. Because not only was he really cheap for weapon skill 5, list skill 5, like, battle suit, but he also, like, the orc fighter rule was absurd. Because it was, Oshova's fame was one battling against orcs, and he has denounced the normal Tau philosophy of using range combat to the exclusion of almost all else. Firecast warriors of the Farside Enclave train heavily in hand-to-hand combat, and any Tau unit in the army led by Oshova may improve their weapon skill and initiative characteristic by 1 at a cost of 5 points a model. So now all of your Tau are 15 points a model, but they have like guardsman stats in close combat.
Yeah, not worth it.
Wasn't
not worth it on your fire warriors. Worth it on the suits though.
Yeah, because you could put it on the battle. It's any Tau unit, so you put it on battle suits. You put it on broadsides.
They just fucking deck you.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Crew don't count for this, right?
Yeah. If it counted for crew,
they FAQ'd it.
That would be great.
They had to FAQ that like immediately.
Damn.
Are those weapon skill 5, initiative 4 crew?
Oh yeah.
For 12 points a model.
Oh
fucking
no.
Delicious.
Yep.
Just stop and think about that on a crew talks.
oh god, it's a weapon skill 4 crew docs. We are so boned right now.
I refer you back to it just fucking decks you.
But like you put that on crisis suits and you give them flamers and you give them a flamer and a fusion blaster. And then like a shield generator, and you just have them hop into close combat and like deck shit. Or even worse, you put that like because it was so cheap, you put that on broadside squads, and then you have them walk across the battlefield and get closer with plasma rifles.
What you're talking about with the crisis suits is you give them 2 separate flamers, so they get to do it twice.
Yeah.
And then you give them shield drones.
Or you give them 3 flamers, so they have 1 flamer that rerolls wounds, and then 1 flamer that hits you again.
But they need the multi-tracker.
That's true.
So they'll be able to shoot them.
That's true. I mean, you could put them on the bodyguard squad, where they could take hardwired multi-trackers. I don't know, it gets expensive. Anyway, he was fun. He was initiative 5, he's strength 5, he was weapon skill 5, he counts as a monstrous creature in close combat because the Dawn Blade is some shit. He's ancient and powerful and hates orcs. Breakaway faction, he can take a bodyguard. He's Char from Gundam. Yeah.
He just is.
I think you mean he's Lieutenant Quattro Vagina?
I think you mean he's one of the insert Char clone here.
Yeah. No. It's because Zeta Gundam.
Yeah.
Which series is the one where Char pretends to be someone else?
That's Zeta Gundam.
Yeah.
He
calls himself. Yeah. He calls himself
to be retarded for 10 years.
Lieutenant Quattro Vagina.
Yeah.
And like
that's why that name.
There's a whole meme of like the main character trying to warn other people that no, that's actually just fucking Char, you retard. He's not even very well disguised. He's
just wearing sunglasses.
He has sunglasses instead of like his dumb German army helmet. It's literally just Char with a different fucking face mask.
Guys, come on, he pilots the same battle suit. It's still like bright red. It's still a custom.
What are you talking about?
He's still got a blonde pompadour. He has the same accent. It's Char. What are you talking about? That's nothing like Char at all.
Lieutenant Quattro is a valued member of our crew. He's definitely not a fucking Zionist.
Alright, Aun'Shi. So, Aun'Shi, you want to take this one? As it's the character you've chosen as your nom de plume?
So, his his shtick is he gets a shield generator hardwired, so he actually doesn't get shot up a lot.
Yep.
You can stick him with the unit, and he's no longer an independent character. But once you do that, he's stuck with them.
He also has grenades because he's just like
he comes
honorable battle and grenades.
Yes, just
you think
weapon skill 5.
Aun'Shi, you think dynamite throwing is a martial art?
Yes.
As long as it works.
105 points. Leadership.
It never counts as being below half strength. It's
Yeah.
just, no, we are going to hold this fucking hill forever.
Yeah. Well,
what does the honor blade do again? Son of a
his
bitch.
honor blade is just +2 strength, so he's strength 5 in close combat.
Yeah, so he's strength 5 for a fucking 105 point model. He always wounds on a 6. He has rending.
Yeah, essentially. But but his combat stats don't matter because he has one big thing that he is known for.
He has the parry special rule. So before combat, you can give up his attacks to eliminate enemy attacks.
Parry Kang.
Each one you give up, the enemy loses 1. They still always get 1. But like, I would slap him and his Fire Warrior squad into like a Carnifex and just laugh.
Yeah, because the Carnifex for many editions was only weapon skill 3, and he's weapon skill 5, so the Carnifex would be hitting on 5s. With
it would be hitting attack. On 5s. It has 1 attack.
Vulnerable save.
And then you could just throw a fucking because it couldn't challenge him because it was a monstrous creature.
Yeah, and this was before challenges.
They maybe, I don't remember honestly. But when he failed his fucking save, then just a Fire Warrior takes the hit and dies.
Yep.
See, you just go into hand-to-hand combat, and that Carnifex is out of the game.
And like this applied to everybody. You could do this to Phoenix Lord 17. You could have him fight the Avatar of Cain, and he just ties him up the entire battle and is like, "What are you gonna do? Kill me? Oh, it's turn 6, and the entire rest of my army is surrounding you on all sides in rapid fire range."
Oh, also the Fire Warriors that are with him get +1 initiative and +1 attack.
Yep.
If you combine that with fucking Commander Farsight,
yes, that's actually a war combo. That is a thing that happened in the war.
They only get that in close combat.
Yes.
But like that would still be +1 weapon skill, +2 initiative, +1 attack, and fucking close combat without even fucking like costing extra points per model, other than like
the 5 extra.
Yeah. Because his thing doesn't cost anything.
The modern lore is the whole reason why Farsight decided to become like close combat master, was because he kept fighting orcs, and one time he fought orcs, Aun'Shi showed up and like fought orcs in close combat, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to like study Aun'Shi's fighting style and then like build a martial art system based on this. So Aun'Shi and Farsight being together, because you could take them both as like 2 choices in a legal army, and then just run Fire Warriors that just beat you in close combat.
While you were shooting Carnifexes marked by marker lights, I was mastering the blade.
Pretty much.
Where it gets even worse is you fucking bring a hammerhead and slap 4 of those missiles on it. Then you have a squad, or you take a hammerhead, you slap 4 missiles on it, you take a squad of the freaking Pathfinders, and then you slap 4 missiles on their Devilfish, and then in one turn the Carnifex takes 8 ballistic skill 5, strength 7, AP 3 hits.
Yeah. And most of the time that would just kill it. That would kill it nearly outright, because not a lot of people actually bothered to give their Carnifexes 2-up saves. But then again, that was the Godzilla army list. So one of these days, if we ever do an overview of the Tyranids, of the Tyranid codexes from this era, then you'll see about Godzilla lists.
Aun'Shi is just fun.
Little short story about Aun'Shi. Aun'Shi wrecking orc ass, like just Darth Mauling orcs, while like some guy in the background shoots an orc. Like, this is the +1 attack. He shoots his gun in close combat.
They've got a pretty good short story for him,
This,
as you can see.
Yeah, and then a short story about the Damocles Crusade and like the diplomatic negotiations. This is the first John Blanche artwork where the famous like Imperial Fists meets Tau Tau Watercast Commander. And the Imperial Fist is like, "You guys are dumb. Look at me, I'm huge."
Yeah.
More short stories.
No, that's all Tau language.
Yeah, or that was the Tau language. Then we have more short story, or we had
One about the Tau language is kind of dumb.
Yeah, because it's literally just, here's the equivalent.
No, it's not even that. It's that, like, the report that is being filed. Oh god, that was horrible.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. The report on, like, oh, well, here's how, and it has just like immediate alphabetic like equivalents, but the report, and like she's talking about how it's
polysyllabic.
Yeah, and then but no, here's the alphabet, and this is just corresponds to like these syllables, these whatever.
Yeah.
But the way she's talking about, it's so hard because the meaning of words can be dependent on posture and annotation, and that is how literally every single language on Earth works.
Yeah, no, it's
this is not unique or complicated. This is every language that human beings have ever used.
No, the better.
I want to point this out. This is the Ordo Dialogus. So even if I get, it's not Ordo, it's Order. So I'm betting this is an administratum like sub department.
No. That is a Sisters of Battle order.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. She is a sister of the Order Dialogue. Like there's a whole fucking thing for it. It's just like they have their own, like, their nurse corps. They have
the hospitality,
like their own et cetera.
Well, then I bet if they have an Order Dialogus, they're like, considering how the sisters are, if it's an Order Dialogus that are like being tasked with xenolexicons, they're probably like, she's probably getting bullied every day while she's trying to work on this.
Yeah,
other
probably.
sisters being like, you're supposed to be like helping all of the people like of this sector all learn the same basics of Low Gothic. Why are you reading this alien bullshit?
Yeah. And meanwhile, she's just sitting there watching fucking like anime.
She's watching
trying to learn
Slice
Japanese.
of Tau life.
She's trying to learn Japanese from watching anime and reading manga.
They have the Watercast provided them with Slice of Life animes about living in their communist society.
Sister Weeaboo Order Dialogus.
Oh god. Damocles Gulf Crusade details.
That's some shit.
That was some shit.
Scroll down further to see if I were having a panic attack.
Oh shit! Like, it looks like out of context, he's like, "Oh yeah, get some," but in context, there's a Space Marine like right here with a knife.
Yeah, no, that gun drone's flying in to take the stab.
Like that gun drone is like, "Oh god, oh god."
Like, show me your mouse. Put it over his fucking head.
Yep.
Like just a touch over his head, and then bring it to the left about like halfway to the edge of the frame, and that's where the knife's about to hit. That gun drone's just zipping in to try to stop it.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh god. And then it's a little short story, and here's like the bonding ritual art. This is obviously John Blanche you can see from this line work. John Blanche did a shitload of the art in this of this edition, which after this edition, he didn't really do that much Tau shit, I don't think. Like in the 4th edition Codex and onward, a lot of the Tau artwork was taken over by Adrian Smith.
Hey, go to the bottom of 52 real quick. It's the next page after the bonding ritual.
You said 52. You mean 62?
It's 52 in the book. It's 62 in the PDF.
Okay.
Hostage situation mission.
So it's like, so the feet are completely different between different artwork for them.
It's almost like it's
extremely inconsistent, and for some reason it's bothering me because they have raptor like hind toes like that, but then like they're just barely there in the other ones. They're not obviously being used for actual like walking and balancing, but here it looks like they are.
Is people that are people that are
to the next page?
Yeah, to right there.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's I thought you meant above, but like because here's the thing, like this one looks like a hoof, and then he's got the raptor talon from but over here it's spread out. Like, look at how spread out the hooves are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cloven hoof.
Yeah, but then here it's like, no, this is like fucking like raptor feet almost.
Yeah, well, like, what's funny is that, so ironically enough, the Tau as a faction, to people who are new to 40k, compare them a lot to the Covenant from Halo. And I wish they were more like the Covenant from Halo, because like the Covenant in Halo like fully utilizes all of the different alien races, whereas the Tau, as the editions have gone on, like still haven't added any other than the Kroot and the Vespid, and the Vespid still suck, and they keep making the Kroot worse. But one of the things that they have in common that's really ironic and funny is every single Halo game and every single Halo property has changed how the hooves of the elites look between editions of like the games and the books and everything. Just the same way. Where like the first like Halo 1 and Halo 2, it's like an actual like horse, it's like a cloven hoof. And then like Halo 3, it's kind of like a little more like a horse hoof, and then like Reach, they were like reptile foot pads with a back toe and everything.
Like what the fuck?
It's weird. It's like they changed it every game in the same way. So it's funny. It's ironic, I think. Also, look, it's a quote from Eldred Ulthran, because people care what he thinks.
Oh boy, Eldrad.
I have found a myriad potential futures.
Laughable future freedom.
I'm a dick. I can see the future.
I'm a fucking asshole.
I can see the future. I'm an asshole.
My machinations lay undetected for years.
Oh god, I'm a master Roosman. Oh shit, I walked into a box with the Death God in it. I didn't plan this. The ending of Battlefleet Gothic, of the original Battlefleet Gothic, should stay canon. Eldred should have stayed dead. Fucking,
you really should have.
Total dumbass. Oh, hey, there's Slanesh on this boat. Shit, I shouldn't have gone in here. I didn't see that one coming. Get stabbed to death.
Little did we all know that was his fetish.
I was planning on this. I'm too old anyway. I'm hoping they kill me now before they Flanderize my character and retcon me into the Horus Heresy series in 10 years. Oh shit, no! Damn it, no!
Just know this about Eldred. He died with an erection.
Fucking, they retconned Eldred to.
He died with an erection lasting more than 4 hours.
Best thing, like that was one of the best things about like the new lore about him. That was just so terrible. It was so awful. They retconned him for the Horus Heresy series to be the guy that was like sent as an emissary to Fulgrim to warn him about chaos. It was just like, oh, that's stupid.
That's tasty.
Like. Fulgrim, who at that point in that book that they introduced that bit of information in, had a keeper of secrets imprisoned in a sword on his hip and had it for several months. And Eldred not only did not see this coming, but Eldred also didn't fucking like Eldred didn't actually realize there was a demon present until he was sitting across a coffee table from him. And then was like, oh shit, wait, there's a demon there.
He was distracted by how perfect Fulgrim's collection of, like, I don't know, fucking Tau Weeaboo figurines or some shit was. Oh, wait, no, the Tau didn't exist then, never mind.
Yeah. Like...
They did.
Oh yeah. He was distracted by Fulgrim's collection of exotic blue space cows.
Yes. And snake people. Don't forget all the
oh yeah. Well, okay, the snake people are a different thing.
Yeah. Like, so, back to this. Missions. This was a thing that the old codexes had. The new codexes these days have something similar, but they're all terrible because their deployments and their setup and their fluff is just bad, usually. And most of the time it's just victory conditions that they roll on a random chart and they don't let you pick missions anymore. I liked it that they at least had one per codex. Like, they got a hostage situation for the Tau. The Dark Eldar had, like, a slave raid. Like, Space Marines had, like, a strike. More cool fluff about, like, technicalities. And, like, look, there's charts. It's, like, about how, like, how did they even evolve? This doesn't make any sense. Look, you see this chart? It's like I'm imagining, like, a Magos trying to explain this to an Administratum clerk. Where he's sitting there like Carthago Delinda Est, like basically like Tau Delinda Est, where he's just like, in conclusion, this is bullshit. We have to blow up their planet. Look at the stable environmental conditions over time. This doesn't make any sense. And then they talk about
Zachary's theorem of adaptive divergence. Yep. Zachary. Who the fuck is Zachary?
I'm pretty sure this is a Star Trek reference.
Why is this a theorem in mathematics instead of a theory in science? Why is it a theorem?
Because this was the pre-7th. This is the pre-6th edition of
Mechanicus,
where they're just totally retarded. Genitor Secundus Zachary Santiago.
Zachary Santiago.
I came up with a theorem, guys. I did math. Look, you see this chart with no numbers on it?
Look at this graph.
I made a...
Yeah, you make fun of Zachary now, but he got a promotion for this.
He got promoted to Genitor Primus?
Yes. Yeah. He's nice. 90% machine now.
But he's a Genitor. He's 90% like engineered flesh.
No.
So then I got a promotion. So the first thing they did was they threw me back in the vats.
Yep. They threw me back in the big pit with all the corpses, and we just melt them down and recycle their body parts.
He starts playing the Golda theme from Emperor Battle for Dune.
Now I have like 12 dicks, and all of them are on my arms.
And also, they have super strength.
Wait, this is the House of Ordos.
The dicks are prehensile and have super strength.
Oh god.
Look at all these elephant penises.
This is major septs, minor, other septs. I love this. And they're like, yeah, we only have like 8 major systems and like some minor systems, but we're a galactic power. And then the book ends.
I mean, when you go with the fluff, it makes sense that they're considered a power, because in the fluff that makes sense, whenever they go to war, it's literally thousands and thousands of drones assaulting, and then the fire warriors come in and mop up.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I don't know if it was this book or that had it in the Damocles, or it's the next book where like they go during the Damocles Gulf, they run into like an Imperial an out like fringe world of the Imperium, and it's a hive world, and they're like, how many people reside in this city? Like reside on this planet?
It's the next one.
Well, and they're like, oh, there's there's like
we don't know how many actually live on the planet. We only keep records on our city. I think we've got like
17 billion, and they're like 17 billion in this planet. It's like, no, 17 billion in this city, and he points to like a small hive.
No, it wasn't that much, but it was like, yeah, there's about 120 million people in this city.
No, like there's at least like twice that much for like even like a small hive.
No, it's a fringe world hive.
I know that they've like a lot of the lore on that has been like exaggerated. I know, because I know that like everyone thought that Necromunda, like when Necromunda came out for the gang warfare game, like everybody, like they said that like people acted like Necromunda's fluff was like the gold standard for what a hive world's like. But
no, Necromunda's a fucking hell world.
Like Necromunda's apparently in its own fluff was like, no, and Necromunda's crazy because like the hive of
Necromunda is fucked up.
Had like 23 billion people in it, and they were like, what?
Vervenhive from the Gaunt's Ghost, there was only 120 million people in that hive.
Dude, Vervenhive, fucking Necropolis was an insane read. Like,
I loved it.
I love Necropolis because Necropolis was like non-stop ridiculousness from start to finish, and I loved it. Like, just all this stupid shit. Like, oh yeah, we opened up the oil pipeline, like the Prometheum pipelines, and nothing came through but tanks. How does that work? Nobody knows. Local merchant ruins city, fills oil pipeline with enemy tanks.
Alright, you guys blew all the bridges. Yes. So there's no other way for them to get across to this part of the city, right?
Why is there an armored battalion inside the slums?
Well, maybe they squeezed it through the oil pipeline.
That's dumb. There's no way that happened. One chapter later.
Here's how that happened.
Son of a bitch. These chaos sorcerers and their mind control tricks, I swear to God.
It's literally like an episode of It's Always Sunny 40K.
Just... So why
there's
are
no way for their armor to
reinforcements? Oh yeah, you know that hive across the street?
They only have a population of 40 million. They can only field an army of like maybe 500,000. The enemy city the gang finds out the enemy city feeds their entire population.
Yeah, it's
Always Sunny in the Philadelphia sector.
always
Yes.
always sunny in Vervenhive.
No, it's always sunny in the
It's-
Philadelphia segmentum. Congratulations, you've just given me my next rogue trader group.
Like, oh, that was terrible when they're like, oh yeah, all the citizens are under mind control, so
No, they weren't. They were just chaos cultists.
No, wasn't it like they were under mind control because they got their brains replaced with chaos computers?
No,
And, like I thought that was it.
no, they were chaos cultists. Like anyone who didn't like join the club, they did that to them, but it wasn't everyone.
Great. Well, all right. Well, that's neither here nor there. So that's done with our overview. What do you guys think in conclusion?
I kind of miss the old Tau.
I kind of do too. Although I think their peak was probably the 4th edition book.
I can see how people hated them when they first came out, like mechanically. But I still
that's 'cause
think
they were different.
there was, they were different, and the fact that they were different made them imbalanced just because there was no existing protocol for how to deal with them, at the very least. But I can still see that there was a lot of potential here as well, and there were a lot of really interesting ideas that they were trying, as compared to other codexes of the same edition.
Yeah, I wish they would have gone deeper into the mercenaries aspect.
I think I agree. They really should have gone more with like a multitude of races that are aligned to the, rather than just focusing on just doubling down on like improving the Tau's existing mecha and shit.
The fucked up thing is that's been basically the complaint by everybody for every single edition, except like a really small like segment of whack fags, as far as I've heard. Where like the whack fags are super,
basically.
Not even just weeaboos. Like, there's weeaboos across the spectrum, to be fair, but like the whack fags that played Tau specifically were the ones that sat there being like, "We want battle suits as troops. We want
battle soups.
When we want them, previous edition.
Yeah, like every single edition, they were like, "Can we have battle suits as troops now?" And everybody else was like, "Why don't they get more aliens? This would be cool to have more aliens." And
you know what?
Go ahead.
There was a point in time where they were talking about adding more alien races, and they were going to add like every alien race gets like a unit, and they're not just going to be troops. So they were talking about bringing like a race where it's an elite choice, but they have their own fucking type of suits.
Yeah, that would have been
where they're cool. They're like fucking they're slow and purposeful, but really good in fucking hand to hand.
Yeah, man, like
and then they were like, no, double down on the gun line.
Yeah, they could have done so much. Like they could have had like they could have added Torellian dog soldiers, where their whole shtick is they're anti-human troops. Like if you field Space Marines or Imperial
they're
Guard,
fast attack.
They're just like, look, it's
they're fast attack. They have
man
hatred.
that hate humans. And like they had they could have made the Vespid viable when they came out. They could have had Demiurge like rad troopers, where the Demiurge have all their weird ion guns and everything. The Tau as a race don't have a big presence in the warp, so they don't have psychers. That's a big thing in the fluff, and like they've never had a psychers. And like as the game went on, edition to edition, they kept making psychic powers more and more important. And everybody kept saying, why don't they make the Tau viable in the psychic phase by either making them like go dwarf mode, where they get resistance to psychic powers, or they get auxiliary aliens that have psychic powers. And they had the Nikasar, which were introduced in Battlefleet Gothic, and they were just like, no Nikasar, we're never going to add them. No Torellians, no Oral Mine troops, no
we'll
real
just
support.
Double down and make them even stronger in every other phase to make up for their lack of
keep adding bigger and bigger mechs.
Yeah, it was weird because it was like by 4th edition they had 3 alien auxiliaries that had rules. They had the Kroot, they had the Vespid, and they had the Guivisa. The Guivisa were basically guardsmen with no options and were shit. The Vespid were terrible for their points and weren't worth it for a fast attack slot because Pathfinders were just ridiculously good, even if the Vespid's points costs were lowered. And the Kroot have always been good, but like until recently they've been nerfing them every edition since 5th. And like it feels sad because they keep saying we're a coalition army. We have peaceful relations with other aliens. We're like every other faction in 40K has like some crazy race war fetish, and the Tau don't, and nobody takes advantage of that in the design studio. They just are like, let's add more battle suits.
All right, let me just go through what this super diverse army has. You've got the Storm Surge suit, the Ghost Keel suit, the Broadside, the Hammerhead, the Razor Shark, your fucking Pathfinders, your fucking XV8s,
the Sun Shark bomber,
the fucking Riptide, the Skyray, which is just another Hammerhead.
Yep.
Like, they have, when you really look at it, they have like 5 units.
Yeah, and like, man, when we like, I know it was hurting you before with like the first generation Crisis suit ankles and everything, but goddamn, the like, and we'll get to this when we do the fifth, 6th edition Codex, whatever. The Riptide ankles kill me.
Oh my god,
the Riptide ankles make me feel sick. Like,
the Riptide, shut it first of all, because the Riptide just makes me feel sick.
Well, yeah, the Riptide is a fucking monstrosity. Like, it's a monstrosity in a bad way. Like, I'm all for them having a cool giant mecha, but like the Riptide has just been so poorly implemented, and it's just it barely passes muster. Like, it's not as hideous looking as some of the like the modern Space Marine stuff, like the Primaris or whatever, or like because like, I mean, it's kind of hard. Let's be fair here; it's hard to beat Primaris with moon boots. But like, seriously, like the Riptide just is awful. Like, it looks awful, and it's bad. Like, it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
In conclusion, 3rd edition was a nice time in hindsight because it seemed like GW cared a lot more, and there was a lot of love and compassion, as you can see, written into these books. And it's like, ultimately, yeah, they were still trying to sell you overpriced plastic, but come on, man, like they fucking tried. Nowadays, it's just, it seems like it's just AstroTurf marketing campaigns where we have idiots that buy crappy models that are made in that buy crappily sculpted models made in what is the program? The modern the modern like shake and bake program that they have instead of hand sculpted like they used to be. Like, and just they buy those over and over again because 40K is cool, it's grimdark, it's over the top. Oh man, Space Marines for the Emperor. Like, just all these stupid memes, and it's just, the heart and soul is kind of gone now. And even though the Tau are relatively new, I think that they, like, what's happened to them and what they look like from the 3rd edition, 4th edition in comparison to now is, a very much proof of that.
I think I agree with you. Though I wouldn't necessarily say it's a universal thing with like the issues nowadays. As far as it is, like, it's a very vocal minority, and I think the rest of the player community just kind of puts up with it because they've just gotten used to it at this point. Like, I wouldn't cast aspersions on the majority for anything other than just being way too tolerant of people being fuck ups.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're right. Well, I guess that's about it. If we get together to do this again, I guess we'll do the 4th edition Codex, and we'll talk about the differences in that one.
Don't forget to bring me back for the Tactical Genius.
Yeah, definitely. If we do Imperial Guard at some point, we will.